We're in the final stretch of the FIDE Women's Grand Prix here in Shymkent, Kazakhstan, with round 7 about to begin. And there are only a few rounds left, so every game is super critical. Players may be tired, but they really have to give it their all. Currently, Goryachkina leads by a full point, but we still have some hungry youngsters right behind her. Let's see what happens. Follow the FIDE broadcast, not miss any of the action.
Thrilling chess battles continue in Shymkent, Kazakhstan. Today is round number 7 of the FIDE Women's Grand Prix 2024-2025. I'm your host, Irene Sukandar, and I'm still joined by my co-commentator, Grandmaster Evgenij Miroshnichenko. Today is the end game of the tournament.
We start the end game officially, so 3 more rounds to go until we know the names of the winners. Well, so far, of course, we have the clear leader, Goryachkina.
Yes.
But there are still 3 more games to be played, and everything is possible.
Yes, and let's remind ourselves who is leading the tournament so far.
Yeah, so the standings, Goryachkina was, well, quite a good display. 2 draws only and then 4 consecutive wins. Finds herself on 5 points.
Yes, and sharing the second place is Tsolakidou, Stavroula and Tan Zhongyi with 4 points. And they were only defeated by the leader so far, by Goryachkina herself.
Yeah, Goryachkina is the only player not to lose a single game, right?
Yes.
And what else? And I think Munguntuul is the only player not to make a single draw. Paehtz, Salimova couldn't win a game yet. So that's everything on the starts. And today's pairings.
Today's pairings, yes. And the leader, Aleksandra Goryachkina, will be playing with black pieces against Batkhuyag Munguntuul. And Nurgyul Salimova will be taking on grandmaster Tan Zhongyi. And Bibisara Assaubayeva, who is in the clear 4th place right now, will be playing against another youngster, Divya Deshmukh. And Stavroula Tsolakidou will be playing against also another winner from yesterday's round, Kateryna Lagno. And on the last board, we will see Elisabeth Paehtz versus Humpy.
Yeah, so Kateryna Lagno started the tournament, well, in a disastrous way, but then I like the way yesterday, like she won quite a convincing game against one of the leaders, Bibisara Assaubayeva. So Stavroula has to be careful today. With the white pieces, I understand, but yeah, it's not easy playing against Lagno if she finds her best form.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even when Kateryna Lagno is not playing in her best form, she is still like a very tough contender in the field. But Tsolakidou, she always likes to play stronger opponents too. So now today, she's gonna take Kateryna with white pieces. I think it is giving her more motivation to play well in her game.
Yeah, we'll see. So these are perhaps like 3 important games of the round. These, of course, Goryachkina's game, then Tsolakidou against Lagno, and Salimova against Tan. I think so. We will be monitoring closely the games of the leaders. Tsolakidou is the only one having the white pieces from those people on pedestal. So both Goryachkina and Tan have black today.
Yes, and I'm also very excited to see the game between Assaubayeva versus Divya, because these two are the youngest in the field, and then they are playing against each other. And I think so far it's been quite a good run. Of course, for Bibisara, yesterday's loss might take a little upset for her, but today she's gonna playing with white pieces. And Divya, I think Divya, for her debut in the Women's Grand Prix, her performance so far is quite solid.
Yeah, so she had a very good tournament, apart from that unlucky loss against Goryachkina, where with white, I think she wouldn't mind the draw, like recalling that game, if you remember, 4 knights with d4,
Yes.
so sort of a solid line, so one could argue that maybe she was trying to make a draw and she couldn't. So, yeah, but other than that, she's playing very well. And they've started.
Yes, we have a liftoff. The players already shook their hands, and we have the first moves coming on the board.
so far. E4, from what I can see, E4 in Munguntuul's game, E4 in Paehtz against Koneru, Knight F3 from Assaubayeva.
Yes. Most of other games, they are still on the move 1 or move 2. In the game between Elisabeth versus Koneru is a Gioco Piano already. And there's one Sicilian. And this is what I like. In the game between Munguntuul Goryachkina, there's a Sicilian. Goryachkina played
So
C5.
Goryachkina played C5. And yeah, I'm receiving the moves with a bit of a delay. So would you? Yeah, now I have him. Salimova with Tan Zhongyi is D4, D5, Knight F3.
Mm-hmm.
Tsolakidou with Lagno, it's, well, started as C4, but then I don't even know what you call it. It can transpose into Catalan. It was C4, E6, white played G3, and black played D5, so this is it. Knight F3, so.
Yes. Okay, I think I would like to see Munguntuul versus Goryachkina first. Just, I want to guess what sort of Sicilian are they going to play, because it's second move knight C6.
Yeah,
could it
I
be
wanted, when you said Sicilian, I thought Goryachkina would play the Najdorf or something like that, but no, she went for Knight C6.
Yep.
And
D4.
again, D4, which is, well, once upon a time you would call it the open Sicilian, but now like everybody plays Bishop B5,
Yes.
which almost became the main line against Knight C6. And the reason for that, at least like if we are talking Magnus Carlsen and his peers, they are not playing D4 because of a shadow of Sveshnikov. Yes, and there is this, mysterious and scary Sveshnikov line, and you never ever go for it with white. So
which might happen actually, because now knight f6 is on the board, knight c3. It is looking likely that we are going to see some Sveshnikov or some classical Sicilian.
You can still go D6. There's classical four knights D6 Sicilian, which can be Richterhauser, which can be Sauzian attack if white wants bishop c4, or e5. I think e5 is far more likely. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, it is now a huge crossroad for Goryachkina. I'm sure she has prepared this from home, and then e5. Yeah. So following Magnus Carlsen's steps, playing the Sveshnikov.
Yep, e5, knight b5, of course, should be played, but then after d6, yeah, knight b5 played, d6 I'm guessing, and then I'm not even sure. As I said, like bishop b5 on move 3 is so popular nowadays, so you don't even know what people play against the Sveshnikov. You have
bishop g5
the
here.
Bishop g5, which once again was at some point like the very main line, and then you have knight d5 move from, let's say, Fabiano versus Magnus match, and yeah, it was a spike of popularity of knight d5 around that years.
Bishop
g5, the very, very main line. Bishop g5, a7, a6 is the move.
Yeah, and I think you almost forced, yeah? Otherwise knight d5 is coming.
a6, knight a3, so that's the only, like if we forget that there is theory, there are forcing line, that's the only reason why white is sort of not winning immediately, because positionally white gets like a fantastic outpost on d5 and everything, but one of the knights has to be sent to a3, and then, let's say, in the position after b5, and you can take, or you can play knight d5 immediately. So that's once again, it's a big debate usually how quick this knight reaches like good squares. So you go c3, knight c2, knight e3, or sometimes c4, and then again you want to go knight c2, knight e3. Well, for now the reality is bishop is on g5, and Goryachkina, well, she did play a6, and the knight went to a3. She's stopping here because theoretically, if I'm not mistaken, there is bishop e6.
Yeah,
in this position, which once again people change their opinion on, from being completely unplayable to, okay, maybe I can try for one game.
But b5 is on the
b5
board.
is on the board. So at least we've got this one. I think it's, don't know if you agree, but I think it's for both of us works it kind of the long theoretical discussion in the sharp line, the one that we had in Bibisara against Stavroula game. So we like at least having one of those games in a round, so you can always return to this game and say, okay, here's your position after move 20. Something's happening.
Yeah, and Munguntuul chose this variation. Bishop takes f6 is on the board right now.
Early bishop takes f6, where black pretty much has to capture with the pawn. Taking with the queen, theoretically possible, but leads to like loss of a tempo, and then I'm not even sure what he does. I think c4.
c4, yeah.
c4 is the move here. Yeah. Anyway, normally no one captures f6 with the queen nowadays. So bishop f6, g takes f6.
Yeah. And now you might want to put your knight on d5.
Now you get
yes.
knight d5.
And c3.
Black plays f5, or there was an old line with bishop g7, which might still be played. But main move is of course f5, where you have c3, or well, theoretically you can sacrifice on b5, and these lines are like very sharp, right? Knight takes or bishop takes, both are played, in fact. So very, very curious to see how this turns out. If I remember correctly, there are lines with pretty much forced like play till move 30, where black has to be very careful, very precise, and the outcome would be, you know, if not a draw, but very simplified dry position. But it doesn't seem that Munguntuul is interested in this type of chess. To her credit, even though the result overall is not great, but she's a fighter. She fights in every game. She's not trying to kind of shut the play down and make a draw. So at least we can expect something entertaining
from this game, yeah? Right. All other games, they're still in the opening stage. We have a Gioco Piano. We have a potentially a double fianchetto in Reti.
Tsolakidou against
Lagno.
Yeah.
Or we have a Slav.
For Salimova and Tan Zhongyi, I'm guessing. And then Assaubayeva with Divya is... Or Assaubayeva Divya is a Slav.
No, Assaubayeva Divya is what is it, a Reti or something?
Oh, well,
it could be a Slav, but depending on the...
That's a very strange line.
Yeah, with a5, so... How did it start? Like that after was the first move?
Yeah, so started like that. c4, bishop e7. That's a weird one, because you have your King's Indian attack, right? d3, okay, not e4 next move, but knight d2, e4 rather. Or you have something Reti-like. So c4, bishop e7, and then apart from being able to transpose into Catalan, you can do, I think we have it in the other game, like b3 and so on, right? But the combination of the two, like castling and going d3, I never really understood why people would play it, and yet there is a theory to this line, and even like some high-rated grandmasters do this. This move a5, I'm not sure. Well, played very quickly, and we know how well Divya is prepared, so I assume it's once again it's part of a preparation to go a5, which, to be honest, I'm not sure why exactly you want to play a5 this very moment, but okay. White replied with knight c3, inviting black, I guess, to play d4, because after d4, knight b5, the knight surprisingly is very comfortable on b5, so because d4 pawn is hanging, you can't really play c6. So in order to defend it, you either have a choice of going c5, then the pawn is safe and everything is safe and sound, but then the knight on b5 is very stable and it's quite annoying for black. Or you can go knight c6, but then after, say, bishop f4, the c7 pawn is attacked, so might as well drop the knight back. And here, I don't know what the theory suggests, but I think once again the knight on b5 is very stable. I'm not even sure if bishop f4 needs to be played after knight c6. You might as well just go e3.
Yeah, so it's a curious decision by Divya to play an early f5 here, because now it's almost like c7, c5 is out of question because
Yeah,
of the outpost on b5. So okay, so instead of d4, maybe the idea is just to simply develop the bishop, b6 maybe?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Maybe you've played a5. Well, still, I don't see why would you play it so early, but it could be a part of this plan. Yeah, like you go b6, you go maybe bishop b7, knight a6, right? Or in some cases, maybe, in fact, you go bishop a6. Yeah, I guess b6 is not a bad choice. Anyway, this one is much slower, more positional. There won't be any sharpness for quite a while.
Similar to this is Tsolakidou versus Lagno. Okay, a little bit different because now we are seeing what is it? It's almost like
It's
a Catalan
some hybrid, right?
Hybrid, yeah.
Some hybrid because here b3, b7. Well, b3, b6, d4 specifically is a very interesting hybrid because yes, here you can go d4 and just like a normal Catalan. You can go d3 and play Assaubayeva variation or whatever. So that would transpose. B3 with the idea to put, of course, the bishop on b2, go e3, queen e2, and so on, used to be one very tricky setup used by Vladimir Kramnik, among other people. I think he was the one like to play and popularize it on a very high level. And the line would be, indeed, after b6, you'd go, for now, bishop b2, and then you go e3, queen e2, something very, very flexible. I say after c5, I think you're allowed to go knight c3, but eventually you go like queen e2, rook to d1, let's say takes here, queen e2, rook to d1, rook to b1, you know, you delay d4 for a very long time. So that was, so I guess it's like some variation of a Reti, so to speak. And here, after d4, it looks like, yeah, black plays a normal setup against the Catalan, where white kind of hastily played b3 a bit too early, but might as well just transpose into something very normal. Right? Like black would play, say, c6, you go bishop b2, queen c2.
I think
something very normal.
Looking at Kateryna's style, she already had this type of game before. She played knight bd7. I think she had it against Salimova, where she had this setup and then played rook c8, c5, all these classical ideas.
Yeah, so one thing is, yes, you do not have to play c6. You can keep the pawn on c7 and hope to go c5 in one go. But then you should be ready to play some positions like that, like Queen's Indian type of structure.
And bishop b2 is now on the board.
Bishop b2.
So the question is whether you delay c5 by playing rook c8 first, or you just go for it.
Yeah, you can go c5. You can, I guess, yeah, like play rook c8 or something. Or once again, alternatively, you have the time to play c6 and queen c7, and then later on somehow decide how exactly you're dealing with the center. So the only thing to mention, like, you have to watch out for, to have a good answer to e4, which here probably is, well, in this case, like c5, it should be fine for black, right? So white is not rushing with e4. White can play, I don't know, rook d1 and so on, rook d8. It's a bit of a waiting game. But I'm guessing if c5 immediately works, then this is the way to go.
Yeah. Okay, so there is that. And before we move back to the e4 games, let's see one other game that is like d4, knight f3 type of style. I think it's Salimova versus Tan.
Wow, that's a good one as well.
Yes.
So that's a Slav, or semi-Slav, should we say, e7, e6. And the line that white decided to choose was g2, g3. That's a tricky line, because after d takes e4, black accepts the challenge. This pawn is not possible to win back. Knight e5, b5, bishop g2, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, knight d5 keeps the pawn. Like if you were really greedy, you can keep the extra pawn, because now after a6, theoretically, white can take c6, right? But white decided not to. Castle's short, bishop b7, and I think we are transposing into the line that you can have from the Catalan. I think like a4 is one of the possible moves. a4, then I don't remember how exactly does it work, because a4 once again attacks the pawn. If I just go bishop e7, it's ab, trade the rooks, and I can take on b5, yeah, which is not a disaster. Black can take back and castle and planning for queen b6, rook d8, and it's also playable.
It's one of the lines, but also the move that Salimova just played is also very typical.
b2, b3, yeah, that's a great move, because after this capture, very usually they just take with the pawn, and it's a typical pawn sacrifice. So you pretty much saying c5 will be very hard for black to play. And if you don't play c5, that means the bishop is passive. White has some potential to get to these dark squares, like to the square on c5 with the knight. So it is very interesting. What is puzzling to me sometimes, that white is willing to enter some positions like this, right? Which is, you know, believe it or not, but it's protected passed pawn on c3, which is very dangerous, very scary in the sense that, yeah, like if you can't really do anything with it, then any endgame would be like close to winning for black. But the speed it's played, I believe it is something is prepared. I'm guessing this could be another option, like to go knight e4, and now in immediate c3 is bad because knight g5.
Okay, so after knight e4 you have to take.
To trade. After knight e4 you'll have to trade first and go c3. Then maybe white is in time to kind of create some, I don't know, you probably go like a3, a5, you include that, and you can say e3 and some queen f3 is threatening. However, of course, it's a lot of strategic risk if you do something like that, because the bishop on c1 has 0 moves, right? So you better make sure that you're winning something with queen f3. So that's a very, very sharp position already. So it started very slowly with some, you know, with some Slav, and we could expect like e3 Slav that we've seen from Tan Zhongyi herself. No, this one is much sharper.
I think it's a great approach by Tan Zhongyi as well. I mean, she realized that if no one can stop Goryachkina, then she has to keep winning her games as well in order to be able to have this opportunity to catch up. And what just happened?
Is b4.
b4 is already on the board.
b4 is
and
on
knight
the board.
a4.
Knight to a4, okay. Knight a4, I guess c3, right? c3. So, well, now this question perhaps will be answered. Sometimes I have to say, though, that to my disappointment, let's say, sometimes black after a3 does not insist on a5, but just like, I don't know, moves the knight, for instance. After a b4 would take with the bishop, white starts winning the pawns back, and it equalizes quickly. I'm not sure if it's a legit line here. It's just my guess. Yeah, but after knight a4, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I had similar experiences like this. I'm not a Catalan player, but I played this with black pieces, and a few of the games I took the sacrifice by white, and sometimes I could get away with it, but sometimes I was being punished as well. So it is a very interesting choice of opening, a very fighting too, especially. Yeah, you don't want to go to some sort of like a calm variation if you want to play for a win as black. And I think this is what Tan Zhongyi is showing, that even though she's playing with black pieces, she would still like to hope there's some winning chances on the board.
Yeah.
So let's continue to the game that I think we haven't seen. It's between Elisabeth Paehtz versus Humpy Koneru.
Yeah. So far we have like three very exciting closed games, right? Started with d4 or English opening. We have the gioco piano and a special breed of gioco piano. Knight c3, h6. Castles, a6, bishop e3, trade on e3, d6, and a4. Right. So that's like something very, very solid.
White is okay. White wants to perhaps maneuver the knight to go to f5 or something, but the bishop on c4. Yeah, it's a bit puzzling. Yeah, what is the next ideas here?
Yeah, like could be this, could be knight h4 to f5. Yeah. I was thinking if black plays bishop e6, right? So if you are trading, the structure is so symmetrical and also so kind of crowded. It's so crowded, the pawns in the center. So I don't know if white has anything. Maybe the only factor in white's favor would be that white gets the space on the queen side by going a5, but it's still like very arbitrary. However, if we look at it a little bit closer and pretend white just makes a random move, bishop takes, pawn takes, makes it the structure from Goryachkina's game.
Yes.
With colors reversed, but she had these two sets of double pawns. Her king was still in the center, so she castled. Then, once again, we are talking with colors reversed, she castled long. But even here, with the short castle, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have these two double pawns, because again, you still have these ideas of jumping with the knight to d5, and for black it's very hard to find like real counterplay. So all I'm saying, black is not forced to take, but after bishop e6, one of the possible reactions for white is just no reaction. Just do your thing. If black wants to take on c4, so be it. So yeah, that's an interesting game right here, right now.
Interesting strategic battle too, yeah, because, well, white is not under impression that it might get attacked soon, yeah, even though it's already castled. It's unlike the game between Tan Zhongyi versus Goryachkina. And Humpy just played something, and it is bishop e6.
It is bishop e6, yeah. It is bishop e6. So, yeah, I'm not sure if king h1 is a smart move, or maybe you can do queen e1 or queen e2 just to connect the rooks. Maybe you go a5, by the way. Yeah, might be a good idea to just go a5, and if black decides to take, then yeah, this outpost on d5 is nice, and there will be some ideas connected with knight h4, knight f5. All in all, an interesting strategic battle in front of us. Shall we check again the Sveshnikov line?
Yes, let's do it.
Goryachkina, our leader, with black. f5, c2, c3, bishop to g7, bishop d3, bishop e6. That's a very, very classical one, I'm guessing. Castles and castles. So what's going on here? I think queen h5 is one move, or should be. Knight c2 is always an idea, but I think knight c2, the problem could be that black takes, goes f5, right? Or it's not so great.
I think
I'm always confused. Yes, some knight
there's knight f4.
Yeah. Some knight f4 tactic.
Yeah, it is the idea.
Yes, so the trick here is that indeed black has potential to have a very, very strong pawn center, right? Black has a pair of bishops, but this blockade on d5, if you cannot really fight with it in a convincing manner, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be a bit of a problem, right? And I'm trying to recall, is this the line as well? I think this one exists, right? And somehow, or maybe, again, maybe not in this position. Maybe you just drop the f5 pawn quickly here. It's again, I'm supposed to know these lines, but it was so long ago when people really played Sveshnikov on a higher levels, and nowadays it's everybody just plays bishop b5. And it is very confusing. And even when they play the Sveshnikov, I have to mention that the more popular move was like knight d5, bishop e7, then taking on e6 and letting black take with the bishop. So this line with double pawns is like well forgotten.
Yeah, let me help you with that. Just checking my database here. Yeah, move like knight c2, queen h5, f3. They're all playable.
Yeah.
Even knight e3.
Knight back to e3, right? Also, yeah, also possible.
Yeah, it's another crossroad now for Munguntuul, which variation that she's gonna go for this. But judging from the time management, yeah, she's ready to play one of those.
Yeah, she played very fast, even faster than Goryachkina. Like not having this information, what Goryachkina is going to play, because we've seen e5 from Goryachkina on move 1. So it was a bit of a surprise even on move 1, but Munguntuul knows her lines very well.
Oh, there is one game that Munguntuul played last year, and it was against Divya, which could be, you know, the anchor game of Goryachkina's preparation.
Ah, yeah.
And in this game against Divya last year, Munguntuul played knight c2 variation.
Ah, yeah, and from what I can see, it was bishop d5, so I'm not delusional. There is this line, bishop d5, e d5, knight e7.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rook e1, queen d7, knight b4, and so on. Yeah, and the game ended with a draw. So it could be that she might try to use this variation again, or
Oh yeah, or maybe other way around.
Maybe other way
she's
around.
thinking,
Yeah.
okay,
Maybe
so
she's
I played
thinking,
it, yeah,
yeah,
I played
already
it last
played it.
time. Maybe I should try something else. All right. Do we have any development in any of those closed games? Particularly interested in Salimova Tan. It's such an interesting position here. We have one more move after c3, knight c4 was played. What is knight c4?
Could it be that
Guess it
yeah,
wants
some
some
knight
knight b6, but let's say the most primitive, to react in most primitive fashion, to just go knight d7, what white's plan could be.
a3?
Could it be bishop f4,
Bishop f4
and then I
also?
want to give a check, maybe? Yeah, a3, a5 is always a question, like, do you include it? I mean, you can just say, okay, I play a3, black plays a5, and I do exactly the same thing. So, kind of the point is, you wait for black to make a move, and then you go knight d6, bishop takes, preventing the castle. Yeah, that's a good question. So, really, the question is, do you stop knight b6 or somehow live with this knight b6 thing? Maybe go a5 here, allowing knight b6.
a5 is the main move.
Yeah. Ah, so there is theory on
There's
this
theory
one.
on
Yeah.
this one. Yeah, a5 is the main move here, and white usually play a3 or e4. Bishop f4, so there's one game
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, okay, a3, logical, and then how does black continue? I don't
Bishop-
think they play knight d7. yeah?
Bishop a6.
Bishop a6. Ah, okay, so that's to kind of trying
Oh, knight
to
bd7 also was tried.
trying to simplify the game. Yeah. Anyway, so that promises us an exciting fight there.
Right. Okay, so this one is kind of, I think they're already entering the middle game, yeah, because this
Yeah, it feels
opening.
like there won't be very fast continuation in this game because the position is already quite imbalanced.
And in the game between Tsolakidou versus Lagno, Lagno decided to play c5 right away.
Wow. Bishop b2 c5, and this whoa is attributed to a move knight e1 because I haven't seen it ever.
It's very original.
And it was played relatively fast. I don't think it was like over the board inspiration, because Tsolakidou, once again, she's usually well prepared, and yeah, such a fast move. Knight e1, of course, opening the diagonal for the bishop and stating that, you know what, there is a problem for you, that is d5 pawn. And yeah, it is very original, but when it's played, you actually understand, like, wait, that's a clever move. This kind of highlights what's the problem maybe with the d5 pawn, because now, what do you even do? Like, you can try to defend the bishop with the queen, but then I'm guessing even like cd5, ed5, rook c1 could be an issue, stuff like that. Lagno captures on d4, queen d4,
Knight
to
c5.
c5. Yeah, so white is already guaranteed to leave black with the isolated pawn on d5, right? In case of cd5, ed5 would be black's reaction, but maybe white can try for more than that.
Maybe white will try b4.
Yeah, b4 is one thing, but I'm guessing in case of b4, black
Knight
puts the
e4,
knight
yeah.
on e4 anyway, and then the b4 pawn is hanging.
So maybe I'll just take it. You have to take it with the pawn then. After b4? No.
Yeah.
b4, knight e4.
b4, knight c4. To take the knight like that.
Yeah.
I guess you take
And
with
queen
the pawn.
c3.
Queen c3 and try to play for this majority. Yeah, it's not impossible again. This pin is somewhat annoying. And you want to get knight c2, rook d1, and so on. So there is that. You might as well
Bring the rook.
try like rook d1 for now, or who knows, maybe even knight d3 in order to go to a4. But yeah, p4 could be an interesting try. So Tsolakidou starts to think right here, which probably means that cd4 is not the main reaction to knight e1. That would be my speculation. Knight e1 was clearly the preparation, was played fast. After cd4, you play a move fast simply because it's the only move that there is, queen d4, right? But the fact that someone who is prepared starts to think after knight c5 usually telegraphs the information, you know what, if it's not a part of preparation, then probably it's not a great move. Computer gives 0.5 advantage for white, so like half a pawn in white's favor.
No, that's quite a solid advantage.
Yeah, for the Catalan standards, I mean, it's very rare that you get this half a pawn very early in the game. We'll see. And Assaubayeva with Divya, this
Finally
original
Divya made a
line with
move.
a5. Yeah.
And bishop b4.
Continues some surprising choices, to be honest. And she also spent quite a lot of time. So after knight c3, she spent like almost 20 minutes. And she went bishop e7 to b4. You know what? I'm not sure if I like what black is doing. Because a5 is, well, maybe not like a total waste of time, but no unnecessary move. And then you spend 2 tempi with the same bishop, like going bishop e7 and bishop b4. On the other hand, white plays the line with d3, so maybe white's setup maybe is also not as aggressive as one would like.
Right. And yeah, actually, all of the games, they're interesting on their own rights, and I really like the fact that we have a Sicilian game for this round, and also this Catalan with the sacrifice. It is also very interesting.
That's a great round, yeah, because you have a little bit of everything, and one game, like clearly Munguntuul with Goryachkina will develop relatively fast. It's a strategically sharp middle game position. Then you have something slower. Then you have the gioco piano, which can stay silent or rather quiet for a very long time, but then explode later on. So we have a potential for a very, very interesting round. I'm just like hopping on and off from one game to the other. Tsolakidou with Lagno, no move from Tsolakidou. Here Assaubayeva starts to think after bishop d5. Salimova Tan. a5 is played and Salimova thinking again. As we know, a3 is similarly the main move, and Munguntuul just played knight to c2. So now.
Okay, so she doesn't deviate. She sticks to her repertoire. Yeah, knight c2. Bishop d5 was a move played by Divya against her last year.
But you can also, I'm guessing you can also play something else, like rook b8 or something.
Obviously, yeah. Here you can. Black has a few options. F takes e4 is one of the big man lines there. Or you can actually push this pawn to f4.
Even f4 is,
Even f4 is a
f4
move.
is an idea. So point being, yes, you take away the e3 square from the knight, so it cannot support the d5 knight. Yeah. And then, if need be, you have another f pawn to go f5. Yes, f4 is an option. We'll see. For now, we know that there was a game played by Munguntuul against Divya. You said last year, right? When
Yep.
bishop d5, e d5, knight e7 was the line. All right, we'll see. So, speaking of tournament situation, are we, or yeah, like I'm talking to myself mainly, but yeah, maybe you have an opinion on this. Would you agree with Goryachkina's opening choice? Because we know she can be very solid with
Yep.
e5, yeah, like e4, e5. c5 indicates more of an aggression, and on one hand, yes, you're leading the tournament with like 1 point. You probably don't want to lose games. You want to be like as solid as possible. Maybe 3 draws win you the tournament. We don't know, right? On the other, I just thought, but wait, but she won 4 games in a row. So maybe she's not thinking in this terms, okay, let me make a draw, you know. Maybe she just plays and she feels the sheer power. That just like, okay, I'll win as many games as possible, I'll play everything for a win. Because this is quite a sign of confidence. You don't need to play sharp with black, but you still do it.
And also what I like about Goryachkina is she treats every game as a lesson game. So moreover in the opening, so she kind of like experiment a bit too. At some of the lines, for example, she's not known for playing Sveshnikov herself. Probably she has played it in some training games and so on, but it's very rare to see her playing in the Sveshnikov. But I think she just wants to treat, okay, I haven't played Sveshnikov in a while, I just want to treat it
Let me
in
try
a
to
tournament
do this,
game. Yeah. Maybe
so
it
bishop
works.
takes, ed takes, and knight to e7 will be played, still following the footsteps of Munguntuul's game against the Divya. Yeah, well, it's technically not played. Oh, it is played, yeah. Knight
It is
e7.
played knight e7. And here, Munguntuul's previously played rook e1,
Yeah.
giving space for the bishop should there be any e4.
Yeah, rook e1, so that after e4 the bishop drops back to f1. And I think, well, theoretically that's something that happened, that black does play e4, but you're not rushing with it. I think queen d7 was
Queen
played or
d7
something.
was what played by Divya then. Yeah, queen d7, knight b4 and so on. So they, I mean, in such a position, it is very likely that the position will end up in the situation of opposite guard bishop.
Yeah, well, he's already. Oh, you mean like the knights could be traded
Yeah.
as well? Yeah. So usually, from what I understand, the conflict, so to speak, here is that black pawns are somewhat exposed on the queen side. White goes a4, and there is no kind of good positional reaction to this a4. You keep the pawn on b5, it's weak, right? And we imagine the knight gets to b4 then. You take on a4, that means your a pawn is weak. So what ends up happening, white is dominant on the queen side. Black can't really do much, but for that, black gets to play e4 later, bishop e5, knight g6, move the king, use the g file, so black is playing for the king side attack. And there were, once again, if I remember correctly, there were like opinion switches on this position, because like in human play, it was considered, okay, it's too dangerous for white. Like, so white was not very happy going for this line because, yeah, it could be too dangerous, this attack. Then later on with computers shown us like path to defend white's king side and simply win the game slower by progressing on the queen side. So in a way, there is some similarities, like let's say not the structure, but the character of the game. Some similarities with King's Indians. Like, this brilliant attacks. Then nowadays, if we recall, it's very rare that black checkmates in the King's Indian, right? Because white players, they know how to react. They know to take care about the king's safety a bit earlier, and it's very hard. So King's Indian is still played, of course, but this brilliant checkmating attacks are becoming rare and rare. Alrighty.
Still no moves yet from Munguntuul after knight e7. I think we can switch to other games. Which one would you like to look at?
Well, Salimova Tan once again,
Let's do it.
But there's not much development. Oh wait, there is some development.
Yes.
So after a5, knight c5 is played.
And here Tan played bishop a6. I think it's a very straightforward approach. Knowing that the bishop is not a good bishop anyway, you would like to trade with one of the good knights there, or c4 or c5 if white is willing to capture an a6. By the way, there has no game after knight c5.
Yes, so knight c5 is almost like a novelty, right? And I'm thinking, somewhat naively, I would think to take and to trade the queens and to say, you know what, I have a passed pawn on c3 in the endgame. But then, upon closer inspection, there is this knight d6 annoying threat, and also a3, my beautiful pawns might be falling apart. So I'm not sure. It still looks like playable and very sharp if I go bishop a6. Because knight a5, I'm not convinced it works, like knight a5, bishop, or maybe I'm convinced it doesn't, because the rook is attacked and so is the knight, yeah? And if it's not knight takes a5, then I am planning to take here.
So we just give a check first?
Yeah, well, knight d6 is possible, yes, king to e7, e2, I'm not sure how serious is the threat to e2 pawn. But probably you want to move it, right? And then, but yeah, e4 blocks the diagonal for the bishop, yeah, so then black can develop with knight d7. So all I'm saying, it was possible to try it, but Tan Zhongyi decided it's too dangerous and went bishop a6 instead. There is still, of course, this option. If white does not pay attention, I think bishop c5, trade the queens, bishop c4, just simplify everything and have these two connected passed pawns, or rather very strong advanced passed pawn on c3 would be in black's favor.
Maybe that's the tricky part, yeah? Because now if the knight moves, I was just trying to calculate if bishop c5 is a good reply there.
Here.
Oh, hang on. Let's move to Paehtz Elisabeth versus Koneru, because I just
What
see
happens?
in the video something happened. There might be some repetition or something like that.
You mean they could be... Oh, wait a sec.
They repeated the moves. And
Knight a5,
Yeah.
bishop d5, knight back to c6, bishop back to c4. So very, very fast draw, which is uncharacteristic for a tournament, let's agree.
Yeah, but I think for the tournament situation for both players, both just suffered a loss yesterday, and for Humpy,
For Humpy,
it's already two
consecutive
losses.
and she's back on 50%, so she doesn't, let's say, have realistic chances of winning the tournament.
And for Elisabeth also, it's been a very tough tournament for her.
Yeah,
so
she just wants this tournament to be over, pretty much. So the
yeah,
more draws
very
you
much.
have, the better, because it makes it less games to play. We've all been there, we all know.
Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
and then like from spectator standpoint, people who believe in you, they very often, but you could still try to win games, but you know
It's
this
hard.
feeling,
Yeah,
you just
it's
want it
hard.
to be over. You tried, believe me, Elizabeth tried,
Yes.
just nothing works. Yeah. So this is like
Yeah.
we are not judging this decision to just take a draw. And
Sometimes you just have to
move on.
accept that you are not in your form, but you still have to continue the tournament. You have to finish the tournament, and you just try not to bleed too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes it an early result and 4 games in progress. But all other 4 are quite entertaining, I want to say. So Tsolakidou made the move against Lagno. And
Yes, she
it
decided.
was CD5, ED5. So she exchanges on d5 and will play this isolated pawn position.
And on the game between Assaubayeva versus Divya, I think it's just pretty much started because they just got all the pieces out and
Queen c2.
middle game starts.
Queen c2, knight c6. It's something very original. And I'm still like, I'm looking at this from White's perspective, right? I've never played something like that with Black, but with White I did play the Catalan and, you know, some Bretti. And on every move, I want to play d3, d4, and I'm comparing it like, if I play d4 and I lose a tempo, but I play the normal Catalan, how good is it? And I'm thinking here, funny enough, d4 might be not such a bad move, because the knight is in front of the pawn, and yeah, like c4, I'm not yet sure how I'm winning this pawn back. Oh, sorry, not this pawn, but this pawn. But maybe knight b5. And it's somewhat hanging in the air, this knight, but it defends the pawn and also attack the c4 pawn with the queen, right? After knight b5, I'm guessing I'm just winning the pawn back, which does not necessarily mean that I'm immediately very happy, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you're winning
Knight
it.
b5, yeah, like if I win the pawn back, it's some like nice Catalan, slight Catalan advantage, which usually White is very happy with. So this could be a move, d3, d4. I'm not saying that it has to be played, but maybe Black is getting ready to play d4 herself at some point.
I like your move also in a sense where some people might think that it is a waste of tempo, but you can also see like the bishop from f8 went to e7 first,
e7
and then b4.
b4, and it's not clear if it has a job on b4. Also, very often, like putting the knight on c6 in front of the c pawn would be not ideal for the Catalan structure. Interestingly, yes, White is to move, and the evaluation is 0.7 in White's favor. So that means White has some active move in the center. So it could be d4. I don't know what else. Can it be some form of e4? I'm less sure about this. So I'm guessing d4 could be the move to play for Bibisara.
Right. Also, okay, before we go on a break, I was just thinking there might be some idea here. I would like to trap the bishop.
Yeah. This one.
A move like knight a4. I don't know. It looks very artificial, but my next move I just want to play c5 then an a3.
Yeah, could be. So
but you just have
not
to
impossible
move the
if
bishop.
Black drops the bishop back.
Yeah.
Where once again, like there is nothing wrong with this for White, but again, maybe we are back to this
d4 is
stuff.
always an idea.
Yeah, so like on a concept level, somehow I want to fight for this center, so I kind of want to play d4. However, if Black has to go bishop e7, there is also this as an idea. I know, yeah, like we are not supposed to have like a d4, a square on d4, but maybe Black is not in time to capitalize on this, because if this happens again, maybe the exchange on e4 is bad for Black, but all I wanted to mention that if this happens, rook d1 is fast, and then, yeah, bishop f4, yeah, knight a4, and then, yeah, in case of d4, this is where we start having fun. Yeah, we go c5, we threaten a3, and yeah, b5, you know, something will happen at this diagonal for sure.
Or c6 is hanging.
You just take on c6, yeah. Just take on c6, bishop b7, and there will be some stuff on this diagonal happening. Yeah, so knight a4 is also an interesting option. Some development, a couple of moves in Salimova against Tan Zhongyi. After bishop a6, Salimova captures on a6 and goes e4. Computer doesn't really like it, says Black is better. Black is better by maybe because, once again, because of a long-term factor, which is the pawn on c3. Maybe it's as simple as that. You can't really do anything about this pawn, and Black just plays bishop e7 castle, you know, something very, very slow, very reasonable.
Right.
Because I don't think you're interested in, like, you know, opening the center with the king on e8. I don't think, like, c5 is the great choice. c5, d5, almost always.
Or maybe put the rook back to a7 and play rook d7
Oh
at
yeah,
some
rook
point.
a7, rook d7 is an option. Yeah, is an interesting attempt, but just yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe even like here. But then we are
Yeah, there's
wasting
a3.
some time, so there'll be like a3, rook d7, ab already looks.
Or maybe just a calm move like bishop e7 and castle, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. Like we play bishop e7 with castle. It's again, maybe that's my imperfect understanding of such situations, but I'm thinking like this. Black has already won sort of the long game. Like if I develop, if like we just play, you play a move, I play a move, I have defended pass pawn on c3. So there is like, I do not need to win more kind of thing. All I want to make sure that you're not crushing me, so I have to castle short, I have to like develop the pieces. It's more of a like min-maxing, right? So don't wanna go too far winning material sometimes. Like I won one pawn, I capitalized on it, so c3 cannot be won back. So maybe I shouldn't rush to try to win more pawns.
Yeah, and she just played bishop e7, and I think after this, I think it's a perfect moment for us to let the players think for more, and because they just entered the middle game and there's so many things to think about in this position, so I don't think we'll be receiving moves a lot for the coming few minutes. So let's take our first break, Miro, but before the break, we will show you the video of the hotel venue of the Rixas Hotel here, the official hotel for the Women Grand Prix in Shymkent, Kazakhstan.
Yeah, so where they play, where we all live. Yeah, that's a splendid hotel, and enjoy the video.
Hi chess fans! Today we are outside the beautiful Rixas Karisha Hotel, where we'll be giving you an exclusive look inside the venue of the FIDE Women's Grand Prix. Let's check it out. And this is the massive interior of the hotel. As you can see, it's a beautiful blend of modern luxury meets Kazakh style. Just look at these beautiful, beautiful views. But let's take a look inside one of the rooms. And these are the beautiful rooms that all our players are staying in, a perfect place to relax and unwind before and after the games. Just look at this huge bed and beautiful accents all around the room. And on the lowest level of the hotel, you'll find the Rixas Spa and Fitness Center, a wonderful oasis with a huge pool and a fully equipped gym, so players can either relax and unwind or work out to mentally prepare for their games. And here we are at my favorite place of the hotel, the dining area, where players have breakfast, lunch and dinner buffet style. Thank you for joining me on this exclusive tour of the Rixas Karisha Hotel, the heart of where the FIDE Women's Grand Prix tournament is taking place here in Kazakhstan. Stay tuned to our broadcast for more behind-the-scenes action.
Welcome back, everyone. Round 7 is still underway. We already had one game that's finished. It's between Elisabeth Paehtz versus Conor Humpy that ended with a draw, but the remaining 4 games are still going on right now. And one of the games caught our attention because it looks like Salimova did a very typical sacrifice in the Catalan, but it is quite double-edged. But what coming up next is her original idea with this Queen G4 Bishop H6. Miro, let's please talk faster.
Let's explore, because it seems that she's fighting back. Somewhere around here, I think we left the board yet after white has played E4, and the computer was leaning towards black. Yeah, like I was saying, the position is in black's favor. After bishop e7, white played e5, knight d5, and queen g4, attacking g7. Now, if you castle short, the problem is white goes bishop h6, and you have to go g6, white wins an exchange. Once again, one can debate how much of a compensation black has, but yeah, you'd like to preserve the material. So you go g7, g6, but then, after bishop h6, it's very hard, or maybe impossible, to castle short. Because, yeah, bishop f8, you could try to exchange the bishop and still make an artificial castle, but, you know, with the exchange of dark square bishops, white knight will get access to d6. So bishop f8, I don't think, is the great idea right now. Speaking of computer evaluation, it is back to being 0-0.
Oh, I just had a pick actually. So g6 is of course acceptable, but also another move, king f8.
King f8 was the move that computer wanted to play.
Losing the right of castle, which is fine for black actually.
And I guess later on you go h4, h5, g6, and
make
king
this
g7,
artificial castle.
Kind of artificial castle. Yeah. So that was the way indeed. Yeah, to castle artificially, because after g6, bishop h6, it is much harder to do.
Because I understand what is going on here. I think because in this position, if you want to do, let's say, like artificial castle again with bishop f8, the difference is you lose the control over d6. So in that case, black has to keep the dark square bishop, because the dark squares around the king is very weak there. So you need the bishop.
Yeah, so king f8, I agree, would be much better move. Now, I'm not even sure if you can play bishop f8, because takes and knight d6 looks relatively dangerous. There is also bishop g5 with the tempo, and who knows what it is. Like, I'm thinking if black tries to include h7, h5, it could lead to some like really strange position like that. Straight, because the bishop is getting stuck, but you know, a3 comes very fast, so it's hard to do. Hard to say what's happening.
Yeah, but after queen g4 and g6 right now, bishop h6 is the best move actually. And yeah, here black has a few options. Bishop f8 being one of them.
Also, bishop f8 is possible.
Rook a7, we talk about it. It's also a good candidate move here. Yeah, but now the position is a little bit messy for Tan Zhongyi, because we thought that with this extra pawn on c3, it is a double-edged sacrifice actually. It can work, but also it can fire back at you. But now it
yeah, anything is possible. So we would say white has enough compensation, right?
And what's also interesting is, I think we have to go back to the game of our leader, Munguntuul versus Goryachkina. After rook e1, yeah, we mentioned earlier that Munguntuul already had a game like this against Divya last year, which queen d7 was played in that game. But here Goryachkina did her preparation and played f4, and this is the best position, the best move in the position.
f4, a4. So now the question is, how do we react to all that? I guess by taking is one option.
Yes.
To just take on a4, and if white takes with the rook, one could play a5, but also just going f5, you know, sacrificing on a6 and moving these massive pawns in like on the king side, like f5, f5, e4, knight g6 also is an option. So Goryachkina thinking ba4 being like a very logical continuation.
Or f5 if she would like to.
Oh, also f5
Yes.
here. Yeah, maybe a5 here is also an option.
Yeah.
Once again, reminder, Paehtz and Koneru made the draw. What else? What else? Assaubayeva with Divya, shall we check? Because Assaubayeva did not play d4, she decided to go a3 instead. Black captures on c3, queen c3, and then black played d4. So we have, I don't know what it is, Benoni structure with colors reversed or
yeah.
something. White having a pair of bishops, but the bishop on c1 so far, it's not clear if it's such a great piece. Yeah.
Yes, and queen c2 is already on the
Queen
board.
c2.
And a4, so preserving the c5 square for the knight in the future. So, yeah, I think it's a long battle now. Like if black has time to play knight d7, knight c5, followed by e5, so it's gonna be quite uncomfortable for white.
Yeah, so white really has to act. The question is, do you play b4 it here right now, or you postpone it and then, well, I'm not sure the move, but the idea is e2, e3. So you can go e3, pawn takes, bishop takes, maybe? It is possible?
Or is it, please explain it to me, like, is it possible to play bishop g5 and trade one of your bishops like that?
Yeah, they do it. Like, I'm not sure, again, how, let's say, how good it is in this position, and let's say in general, when it's when you do this, when you don't do it. I think like one of the ideas when they play bishop g5 is then when black has the e7 bishop, so that they would trade on f6 and somehow make an argument that the bishop on f6 is like not great, right? So let's imagine we have the knight on d2, and then the idea would be bishop g5, trade for the knight, go c5, put the knight on c4, like something like that. In this position, yeah, there is nothing wrong with going bishop g5, and let's say after h6 just take. So we eliminated this knight which was going to c5. But again, one has to know what are we planning to do next, right? Do we actually play like c5 or something? Do we go knight d2, knight d4, or knight d2 before take with the knight? Yeah, not impossible as well.
So there's a chance that this game might be clarified very soon, actually, depending on Bibisara's next move.
Yeah, so that's one of the turning points, of course, yes, and white is about to pick the plan she's going to go for.
Because a move like e3 right now, there is, what, e5, or you take it?
That's also a good question. Like, do you play e5 as black? Because here I'm guessing like bishop f4 and, you know, various ideas with like jumping to e5 with the knight could be possible. However, now I'm looking, knight d7, knight c5 is still there, right? Knight d7, knight c5 is still there. Alternatively, after e3, you can take and play e5. And again, bishop f5 is happening relatively soon. This one also looks playable for black. Yeah, I don't like e3. Don't like e3. Maybe we have to go for your idea with bishop g5, or just play this.
Yeah, I think that's
Knight
also very sound.
d7. Okay, we'll somehow tolerate this. Maybe, you know what? Bishop d2, knight c5 here, and then bishop b4, and this way applying the pressure on the c5 knight. That's also stuff that they do sometimes.
Yeah, so Bibisara's next move could determine the course of the game. And let's also check Tsolakidou versus Lagno, because Tsolakidou decided to play against the isolated queen's pawn.
She spent a lot of time also. What's interesting, so here she was on 1 hour 25 or 1 hour 27, something like that. She traded on d5 and went knight c2, which is quite logical. So you eventually want either to put the knight on d4 after queen leaves, or maybe go knight e3 and just attack this pawn bajillion times and win it, right? What's surprising in a way that white has spent half hour playing these two moves, cd4, the c takes d5 and knight c2. So what do we do for black? Knight e4 is something that I would consider, opting for bishop to c5.
Yeah, knight e4 looks very natural
And
there.
if knight takes, pawn takes, yeah, these positions are all also like very often hard to tell. Some of them are like perfectly fine for blacks. Some of them black just like are bound to defend this e4 forever. Here I don't see much of a problem, to be honest. Like looks like black should be relatively fine here. So maybe white just does some rook c1 or something.
But there's
so
bishop
rook e1.
c5.
Yeah, there is bishop c5, which is... Yeah, but the question is like how annoying is bishop c5 if I go to a4? No, I don't like it. Like the queen is not entirely safe. Yeah, but maybe this is hanging now. Maybe this is hanging. Maybe if black cannot hold the knight on e4, then white. I think like if this happens, white should be very happy, because now you will run away to h4, and it's just an isolated pawn and the pin and everything. Right? So maybe it's also possible to do.
Yeah.
Like
So
ideally, what I want is this knight to e4 and bishop f6, right? This is like the proper way of getting the queen from d4, but it is not possible, of course, because of that. It's knight e4.
So a slow approach could be, I don't like it, but a move like rook e8,
Rook
it's
e8,
there.
bishop f8,
Yeah, that's very
and then
slow.
knight e4. Yeah. Well, it's not terrible. It's possible to play, and at least from f8 you make sure that g7 is always
Yes,
defended.
and
yeah.
now the knight on f6, it can
So
move.
you jump to e3, and even then perhaps bishop f8 is possible, because if you take, e2 is hanging, right? So at the very end of this sequence of captures, black takes e2, and this could be playable again. It needs further investigation, because white with the knight on d5 of course has some initiative, like rook a d1 and then some jumps maybe, but black has everything protected. g7 is protected, the b7 bishop is guarded by the knight on c5, so even this could be tried. Over here there is not a lot of time difference, but still Lagno has some 10 extra minutes after move 13. One of the slower games today. It's Lagno and
Assaubayeva.
And Assaubayeva. Divya is also like only 11 moves. Goryachkina and Munguntuul on move 20. Salimova, Tan Zhongyi on move 17. And Tan Zhongyi just played a move knight to d7.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this move. Of course, you would like to get this knight moving, and knight d7 is the most viable square for the knight. I mean, literally the only like move that the knight can play. Yeah. So, but what is the next step for the knight? What do you want to do?
It's unclear.
Like bishop f8 takes with the knight. I don't think that's the idea.
Yeah. I always feel like. F5 takes with the knight, I was thinking, like to achieve this somewhere.
But e6
but also,
is hanging.
like e6 is always hanging, and you're opening your own king. And a move for white could be just to go a3, right? Because now the rook is not protected, so I'm trying to exchange and kind of have my rook from a1 being included in the game. So this could be one idea. The other one, put the rook on e1 maybe and have some knight d6. I feel like h4 is almost always
safe,
a useful move, right? You get more grip on the dark squares. In some positions you'll play h5. So
I think, could it be that Tan is planning to play c5?
Yeah.
Or trying to exchange your knight on c4 with knight b6?
Yeah, well, knight b6, I was thinking. Yeah, maybe indeed knight b6. But then it's not clear if you want to take on c4, right? Knight c4, let's say white does some rook e1, and knight c4, bc4 can also be dangerous, because the king is getting stuck in the center, and after knight c7, who knows, maybe other rook goes to d1, white's going to play d5. It's very tricky. How the good thing for black, without this knight, you can actually go bishop f8, bishop g5, back to e7, and at least repeat the moves. Well, computer leaning in white's favor, +3, so 0.3, of course, not +3, plus 0.3, so white slightly better, means, again, we shouldn't stick to these numbers, but the trend of the game somewhat changed. Black was very comfortable just a few moves ago, and now white definitely has enough compensation.
Okay, so no other moves coming up on other boards. I was just checking everything, but let's take a look at Munguntuul versus Goryachkina. There's some pigeon error there.
Again. Did you notice
With
it's always in Munguntuul games. It's almost like she does something on purpose, to mess up with the relay of moves. So a4, ba4, rook a2, a3. If you're watching this, that's a little bit confusing. So in reality, what happened was ba4, rook a4, and black played a5, and now it's white to move. We in RPG, and we have it with black to move, but it's white to move.
Yeah, so
it is a bit of a
mystery
problem,
now.
and we will have to wait for the PGN to be fixed.
Oh wow, we have to come back to Salimova's game again, because she played the move that we didn't mention it before.
I was thinking it is an idea to go knight d6, but I did not think it will be played that fast. Yeah. So this, right? You have to. So she went knight d6. Black has to take. White takes back. Computer, by the way, actively dislikes it. Thinks that black is back to be much better. So I'm guessing knight f6 is not great because queen e2 is the tempo, right? And then somehow you put the queen on e5, and maybe it's not easy to win this pawn. So bishop d6, e6 is already played. Black has to think of a clever way of taking this pawn on d6. Maybe like queen b8 or something.
Yeah, if we throw in queen b8, what's gonna happen then?
I'm not sure, because if you lose this d6 pawn, black all of a sudden is so solid even in the center, like that maybe you don't need to castle.
Or maybe bishop g7, so that black could really no castle right at all, and bishop e5.
Put the bishop on e5, and then we could have like a really funny position where both sides have, like, it's a middle game, and it's almost a mystery how these pawns manage to get one on d6 and the one on c3. I don't know who's better here, to be honest. Like, black king is still in a bit of a danger. However, you can maybe go king d7 and so on. Right, so it is an important decision here for black, for sure. Knight f6. Yeah, well, once again, knight f6, queen e2. For whatever reason, I just stop here. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe rook a7, and white still has to defend d6 somehow. Like queen e5. That's something that I was advocating.
Oh, but there is I think there is a concrete way to play in this position.
Which one? After queen e5 or?
No, before queen e5. So I was thinking, what if bishop g7 now?
Yeah, rook g8.
And then take on f6. And
right.
then
So if knight takes
bishop c6.
Bishop c6.
Again, I don't know what's
f8,
the... Yeah,
right?
and then But I mean,
It's
naturally,
also tricky, I agree, because it's not easy to get the d6 pawn back. Now, if black to move queen d6, black's winning, but you will put the queen on e5 and you'll have d5. Yes, and then.
But naturally, you wouldn't like to.
If I'm greedy, if I take on f6
with the queen, then you take on the knight.
Then you have
and then queen
take
b5.
on the knight and give a check on b5, and I would love to run here, but then I'm losing the rook.
Yes.
Yeah, king f8 is impossible, so I have to go rook d7, and this is not something I do not like very much, because you can, among other things, you can just start taking these guys, I'm guessing.
Or maybe a3 is a bit.
Yeah, maybe a3
maybe
is
it's a bit stronger, but I mean, this is the position that black
course,
doesn't want to have. Yeah.
That's something very sharp, and this is something to consider, of course. So this rook's attacked. Rook.
And also, I think it's worth mentioning, the rook has to stay on the a file, I guess, because if you play rook b6, maybe there's a3, and then somehow the rook on a1 gets some attack there.
Takes here, a b, and there is an additional idea of rook 8. That's a big question, if you can allow yourself to do that, because rook b6, knowing your idea, maybe I would switch to rook b6, because now I can safely take with the knight. Yeah, c6 is protected. Oh, safely also, like maybe nothing is safe in this position, you know. Queen e5, and this one's hanging, then a3 later on. Since I played rook g8, I still have to invest like 3 tempi before the king is safe. Yeah, like I have to go king f8, king g7. Yeah. We don't care what computer says. It's a very complex, complicated position. Yeah, where, you know, practical counterplay, practical compensation for the pawn is, of course, on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have moves in all other games as well, but let's switch back to Tsolakidou versus Lagno, because after a long thing, Lagno decided to play this move, knight e6.
Which I do not yet have. Yes, knight to e6.
Yeah.
Attacking the queen.
And now Tsolakidou is thinking where to go with the queen. I think we discussed what queen. No,
not in this.
Not in this variation.
Strangely, we didn't even try knight e6. And again, yeah, it's hard to tell where the queen belongs here. Because if the queen would be attacked with the bishop, naturally queen h4 looks nice. Here, to go queen h4, you know, under x-ray of this bishop is not something you'd like a lot. Going to a4, at the very least, allows knight c5 back. So d3 allows knight c5 back. d2, maybe knight e4. I don't know. Do we go all the way back to d1?
I have a feeling there might be some repetition as well. It is not.
Yeah, well, fair point. Yeah, like knight d3, maybe black just goes knight c5 and says, you know what, I do not mind repeating the moves. How about you? Yeah. That's a good question. What do we do here? Queen e5?
I think there's bishop d6, yeah?
Bishop d6, yeah, that's what I was like trying to understand. Do I eventually lose the queen, or provoke a lot of weaknesses, and I'm a smart person, like queen f5, queen h3? That's what I was thinking, but maybe it doesn't make any sense.
Maybe just, I don't know, bishop c8 maybe, like.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks.
But then I can actually kind of return to the normal squares, and you know, you've played g6, d5 is hanging, so it's not like completely ridiculous. The idea of going queen e5, it's not like. It probably doesn't give any advantage, but it's not kind of ridiculous, because interestingly enough, in the Catalans, in Queen's Indians, I've seen this like f5 square for the queen. Strangely, after cd5, ed5, the bishop is on b7 usually, right? And sometimes they go like queen c2 to f5. If the queen is attacked, it goes to h3, and let's say helps in kingside initiative. But yeah, but normal, sane thing would be to move it on the d file. d2, d1, really depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can come back to Munguntuul's Goryachkina, even though I don't
Did
think...
they
no,
fix the...
But I think we can see it from the video, and probably we can just start on.
F5, knight 8. Wait a second.
We can start on
A5.
analyzing from the current position.
Yeah, but again, I think it's what's happening. F4. It was A4, B takes, and it had to be rook takes, A5, knight A3, F5. So we have kind of the same position, but the side to move is is wrong, right?
But it looks like who's thinking right now? It should be Goryachkina's turn, right?
No, it's Munguntuul's turn after F5. It's Munguntuul is to move. In our PGN, we have Goryachkina to move because the PGN was like had some errors.
I'm just looking at the clock there in the video. Like whose turn is this?
It's hard to tell. They are sitting absolutely in the same way.
I think it's Munguntuul's turn because judging from the body language, it is her turn
you
to
can also
play.
see the DGT clock, I think. Yeah, so what do we want with white? Well, probably dropping the bishop to F1. Then go knight C4 and try to win this guy. The game sort of slowed down quite a bit.
But this is the right approach by both sides actually, that black is attacking with F5 and so on, but also white is trying to open up the queen side by doing this approach.
Yes, white will try to pressure the A5 pawn with knight C4 and who knows, maybe queen A1. And white will try to defend the king side with like very minimalistic means by simply putting the bishop on F1 and like in case of F3 playing G3.
Okay, there are a few interesting ideas here that white can play. One of them is like bishop F1 because E4 will come anyway. So you just want to prepare against E4.
So it's still, there are still games.
There
right?
are, but most of them are just blitz and rapid. But I mean, I was just turning my engine on just really to try to understand what is going on right now. Because if it was like a blitz game, I think it is interesting to play because all black is doing is just pushing all these pawns, attacking the king. You know, you don't really have to think much about that. But since it is a standard game, Munguntuul will have enough time to think about all the defenses. And yeah, probably let them think for a while.
Yeah, I also have this feeling that in blitz you'll almost always pick black in such situations, right? Because it's, you know, it's initiative, it's very straightforward. You understand, well, you just bring all the pieces to the king side and you try to checkmate. If it works, it works. Yeah, for white, white's play in these positions is sort of much more sophisticated, right? You have to balance between defending the king, but also like keeping the pieces on a queen side and pick up material if you get a chance.
Right. Which one would you like to look at?
Let's check Assaubayeva Divya maybe. Just quickly, knight d2 was played without after a4 she plays knight d2. Oh yeah, I guess the point is she wants to go b4 and take with the knight. Let's say after knight d7, white's gonna go b4, pawn takes, knight takes. Stopping knight c5. After e4, then maybe a4, bishop a3. This could be, or not even bishop a3, but a4, a5. You know, expanding here. Maybe bishop d2, rook b1 to playing it in style of Benko gambit. Yeah, maybe after all, I never thought of it, but maybe kind of the good thing of having a bishop pair in this position for white is that it's harder for black to open up the position in the center. So let's say you prepare, let's say you go f5 and somehow you prepare e4 and then bishop becomes strong on f4 or goes to b2. So it's not that the bishop is active per se, but it stops black from being like freely opening the position. Like at some point this bishop might be a dangerous piece. Maybe that's kind of a clumsy explanation of why white's position is so nice. Computer claims white to be better. If I look at this position, I'm thinking, yeah, black has more space, black has development. Why white's supposed to be better? But maybe because of pair of bishops.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, we have some other moves on the game between Tsolakidou and also Salimova. Tan played queen b8. I think it is interesting. She went for this idea to
queen
go
b8 to
for the pawn.
attack d6. But we had something here. You were playing bishop g7 and bishop e5, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes like almost mission impossible to win the d6 pawn.
Yeah, whenever there's h5, queen e2 comes with a tempo.
Yeah. Oops. No, not h6. h5. Yeah, white will play queen e2.
Maybe rook. Where does the rook go?
a6, a7.
a7, I guess. Yeah.
a7. But it's like it's tricky. Yeah, with the king in the center, white all of a sudden has like more and more various possibilities, like queen c4 and a3. Even going f4 or something. Okay, is there anything else that white can do? Probably not really.
Yeah, you have to keep the pawn on d6, yeah, because once it's gone, black will be just comfortable.
Yeah, like I was thinking, can white play queen h4, or rather take d5? I know it's strange, but go queen h4, threatening.
Okay.
Checkmate in 1, go
And
bishop
bishop
g7, and after rook g8, take on h7.
Interesting.
So this way, white wins an exchange, right?
Yes. you
Not
have to take
necessarily
it.
the game, because still the very strong pawn is there, and you know.
Can we see it once again?
Yeah.
Just
So bishop takes d5.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it as forced as possible, or rather, I think it's as forced as possible, because I was thinking knight f6, but then queen e2, of course, and attack the rook. So one more time: bishop takes d5, c takes d5 again, e d5, rook e1. We don't like to calculate. C d5 and queen h4. This is the moment that you might have other moves, like
Queen
you
d8,
could go queen
yeah?
d8. Yeah, could go queen d8. Because again, queen d6, bishop g7 is relatively forced.
or
Yeah, queen d8. And yeah, I was thinking bishop g5, but you
but
have
there's
f6,
f6, yeah.
right?
This time it works.
You have f6 after rook e1. Like, first of all, maybe you can take g5, but you don't even need to. You can go king f7, or rook d6. Yeah, nonsense. Rook d6. You eliminated the pawn, you defended everything. Yeah, so this line is not great.
Queen e2 is on the board.
Queen e2, okay.
Attacking the rook.
Queen e2 hitting the rook. Yeah, black has to react somehow.
So let's say rook a7,
Rook
just to put it
a7,
on the board.
yeah.
What's the next move? Like takes bishop f4, but it's allowing castle.
Yeah. Bishop g7, bishop e5 is still there.
It's still the idea, yeah.
Still there. There is technically, you could say,
And then
takes
f4?
an a3,
Or even f4 here. Just
and
using-
to go f5.
yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
how good is
maybe,
the
but yeah, well, there is still some annoyance on f7. Yeah, even this one. And I was thinking the kind of to start opening the other side. So a3, say queen d6 takes b4, queen b4. And somehow, as long as the king is not castled, they always have some tricks. There is a feeling. Even rook a4, you know, queen b3, rook a1. Who knows? I understand it's very speculative, but also with the king on e8, with the rook cut off from the game, maybe even this is something. White played queen e2. Once again, computer slightly kind of tilted towards this being in black's favor, so maybe queen e2 is not the greatest move.
Yeah, I was thinking of a move like queen b5.
Well, we can do queen b5.
But
Right.
then I don't know the position after takes everything, rook e1, king d8. Well, maybe black is fine actually, because nothing much happening on the board.
Like no queens.
Yeah.
It's much less of a worry, all this attack. Right?
Next move could be rook takes d6 or rook
We
e8.
want to take on d6. We want to play rook e8. Yeah. So queen b5 is possible, but then you're not attacking d6, right? So among other things, one can say, you know what, I changed my mind, I go back to g4. Interesting. So, again, a reminder that we have Goryachkina in the lead, and then both Tan Zhongyi and Tsolakidou are full point behind, right? So what's happening now, they're hoping for Goryachkina not to win, and they both want to win their games, respectively, in order to try to catch up with 3 rounds to go. Well, Tan Zhongyi did play something.
Rook b6.
It's rook to b6, yeah. Rook to b6, moving the rook away from the b file, still keeping an eye on this d6 pawn. Yeah, now White really has to come up with something very clever. Again, if this happens, I think the difference is, like with the queen on g4, there was no f6 whatsoever. Now I'm actually kind of tempted to suggest f6. I don't know, it might be just a terrible blunder, but I'm not even sure. And the point is, yes, in case of bishop f6, I understand capturing and allowing queen e6 is probably terrible. But what I wanted to do is to take on d6, so that if bishop e5, all of a sudden I trade and the e file is closed, then it's kind of okay. So again, like to check it a little bit more precise. Because
Yeah, I think you have
bishop
to take.
f4, I'm like almost winning. Knight takes, queen d6, yeah, so relatively safe. Maybe you can take on d5 first.
But what's the difference? CD?
C takes. And the same thing, after bishop f6, we'll take the d6 pawn with the queen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it works. Bishop f4, I guess king f7, rook e8, yeah, and it's solid. Yeah, maybe this is possible. Okay, remains to be seen what Salimova's idea is here. She's on 14 minutes. This game slowed down as well, like a lot. So 40 minutes for Salimova, for 20 more moves before the time control. Can be, can lead to some time trouble, especially in a position like this, where pretty much on every move you can just accidentally stop and think for half hour because the position is so rich.
The slowest player in this round is Divya. She is 30 minutes behind Bibisara's time.
So she's on 33 minutes. Interesting, and also they only have like move 14.
Yeah.
So it's a big time trouble incoming for Divya. Yeah,
So
not much has changed.
not much has
After knight
changed,
d2,
yeah.
e5, white went with b4, black plays rook e8, so your typical Benoni business.
And in the game between Tsolakidou versus Lagno, Lagno didn't go
Didn't
back
try
with
to
knight
repeat,
c5. Yeah.
Didn't try to repeat. So
She
she went
goes-
knight d6, and after queen d3, she went with queen d7, rook d1, rook d8. This way, black makes sure the pawn is defended. White went knight to d4. But now, what do we do? Can we somehow take on d4, go bishop c5,
Queen
and push
h4.
like push d4 was my hope.
Interesting.
Because It's like, I'm afraid I might lose this pawn. That's, let's say, bishop b7, queen b7, knight b5. Like if I...
Or even you can play knight e4 and then trade everything. And then instead of bishop b7, knight e4.
Ah, here, to go knight
Yep.
e4 with white, yeah. Let's say bishop takes, knight takes, queen takes. But that way at least it's defended, right?
Yeah, but white will double up the rook, and that's going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, I agree. It's also like not ideal. With the white knight on d3 against the dark square bishop, it's usually like very good for white, but even with the bishop on b2. I was kind of hoping that maybe I'll have the pressure on the e file.
But queen f3, yeah.
In return, yeah, like this, and then
rook
somehow
d2
queen
or
e6. Yeah, even this one's more pleasant for white. But then it remains to be seen how exactly black has to go about this position. Again, it would be not bad to go like knight e4 and bishop f6, but now knight e4, it's just a pawn, right? Can just take, it seems.
Yeah, just take everything.
Because knight c5.
You give a check first.
I'll give a check. Oh, well, there's also queen h3 at the end. So maybe it's not... I have queen f5. Yeah, this doesn't work for black at all.
Or should black go slow then? Like bishop f8 here?
Again, drop the bishop to f8. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, this can be played, I guess. D5 is well protected, right? So white cannot really hope to win the d5 pawn fast. So that means I'd probably just like take. Then usually I don't think like taking with the pawn is a good idea, because they are always like hanging and the king side is getting weak. So maybe queen takes, maybe I go knight b5 and, well, secretly hoping that the black blunders, but in reality kind of trying to get the other knight to d4. So it can go like a very long positional game here. It's no major action as of yet.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to Munguntuul's game, but it's still not being fixed, so it can confuse us.
Let us fix it for... Yeah. So f5, white to move. Knight went here. Knight went e4, bishop f1, knight g6. I think this is like a real position, which is the same position that is in the PGN file, but you know, the side to move is wrong. It's incredible. Shall we ask, like during the next break, I'll try to ask them to fix the PGN, because it's so misleading. We have the same position but completely different, what you call the evaluation bar is going crazy in black's favor, and guess what, one tempo matters a lot, right?
And also the time situation, it could be also wrong.
All can be messed up, yeah, if you have kind of wrong side to move.
Alright, since there are no more updates on other games as well, and I think they're also entering one of the most critical moments in their middle game, as we already passed the opening stage anyway. And Salimova just played a move f4. Would you like to cover it now?
Let's go back here. Right, let's go back here. I'm also preparing to take a second break, but we cannot really leave this one without our attention. So queen b6, f4. I guess with you ready to go f5, right?
Yep.
But this is a very, very tasty pawn, I have to say. So
I think you have to take it, yeah.
Queen d6 you do play. f5. This is already a debate. Do we have to take on f5, or we could just somehow not react? Because one of the things to do is actually to run away to c7 and kind of castle this way. Also taking here doesn't look bad. No, I think something's
wrong. It could be knight e7 here.
Yeah, knight e7, then this guy is hanging with a check, so rook f4 allows some e5, hitting the bishop on h4. So it's almost like f4 is played, but after queen d6, maybe you can't even play f5 because of this trick.
But what could be the idea then after f4 if you don't
wait.
push it?
Maybe you take this pawn.
Oh, so I was
Maybe you
saying.
take this pawn. Remember how we wanted to enter the a file with the rook? It's the other rook, but the same a file.
I see.
Yeah, so queen d4, bishop e3,
Bishop e3,
right? And it's
Yeah, I think at this moment already, Salimova has to be prepared on playing some crazy game.
yeah, she's pretty much all in after this f4 and so on, which makes it even more interesting. Well, not a lot of time left, half hour for Salimova. Very, very entertaining round today. So still
Yes.
kind of almost within a theoretical or like very standard scenario is Munguntuul against Goryachkina, right? So it's
I think it's
24
fixed
moves.
now.
It could be.
It could be fixed now. Yeah, we can
Queen
take a
A1.
look.
No, it's still not. Still not.
No?
Wait a second.
But this is Black's turn.
Yeah, so A4, BA4. It should be. Okay, let me rook A4, A5, knight A3, F5, knight C4, this, knight G6, queen A1, and knight H4. Yeah, it is black's turn and it has to be white's turn, I'm guessing. Again, that's my theory. Maybe I'm misleading the... But even with this being white's turn, it looks so scary, to be honest. Okay, white's turn, big deal. You take the a5 pawn.
Yeah, it is White's turn.
Yeah, okay, you take the a5 pawn and black maybe moves the rook away. Then queen g5 comes, and it's a check. I don't know, I always feel like it's a checkmate. Whenever something starts here, I feel like it's almost impossible to defend.
Rook takes a5 is on the board.
Rook
so
a5 is on the
stay
board.
on this.
Rook a5.
Because I think Goryachkina will play her
Yeah, we can
move.
wait for her next move, which will happen
So
relatively...
So you're saying, obviously, she's not going to take the rook, yeah?
No, not obviously. No, this is also possible. I just thought, like, this kind of helps white a little, because, yeah, like, starts threatening to trade the queens, and maybe if you move the queen, some queen c7 happens. Alternatively, though, if after queen g5, white cannot take on d6, because maybe he cannot, maybe f3 just checkmates, I don't know.
And
Like,
also,
if white, knight g2.
e1 is hanging too.
Knight f3.
Knight f3.
I'm blind. Yes, it just knight f3, take the rook. Yes, you're right. But then on contrary, then we take on a5. Yes, because this allows us not to lose the time. Yeah?
So queen takes.
Queen takes, queen g5. Let's deploy
so
it
let's
here.
play king h1.
King h1. Yeah, king h1. Now, bishop e5. Not necessarily happy with this move. Because white's going to take, I understand it's a bunch of pawns, but also white will have like d6, queen d5, yes, and probably we don't want this. f3, g3 is unclear. I feel like the rook is needed. So you can try king h8, rook g8, so maybe you go here.
Rook c8 was played.
Rook c8,
Yep.
So Goryachkina decides that she wants to, well, not even like wants to keep the rook.
But also attacking the c4 knight. Should there be any queen g5, knight g2, something like that? Yeah.
Maybe like knight g2 immediately is almost like a threat, right?
Or even now takes on c4 is a threat because
takes on c4
and queen
then
g5,
queen g5 and then f3 or knight f3, whatever. Yeah.
No, this is interesting battle. It's yeah, queen g5 is coming, rook c4 is coming. Well, I'm not saying that this is winning for black. It's just that white has to come up something because technically white has a pawn up in this position, yeah. But of course, not
very strong initiative.
Not
right?
for nothing. There's some compensation for black in this position. Yeah, f3 is coming. My gosh, how to defend this position?
It's hard. It's hard. I think you'll have to play
Some
like
king h1
king
move.
h1 and pray that there is no checkmate, because with this kind of structure, it's very hard to bring any more pieces to defend the king, right?
Yeah.
It's not a checkmate immediately, even if I go king h1 and say play h3, right? So there's still some time needed for black to bring more pieces. But, you know, like there are some positions where you say, oh, okay, I bring the rook over third rank and I'm free. No, like everything is controlled. So there's not an easy way to help your pieces, right? Rook a6, by the way, did I click on rook a6 or was it?
No, it wasn't played.
Yeah.
Rook c8 is the last move.
Rook a6, I'm guessing black will start some combinations here. Like
Just queen g5.
Maybe we could illustrate like takes queen g5, or maybe queen g5.
Queen g5 immediately.
Queen g5 immediately. Well, knight d6.
Knight there, yeah.
So I'm thinking I'd be...
No, in that position you take on g2 because there's f3.
So you don't go knight f3, right? Take on g2. And this is sad, yeah. Bishop g2 f3 is just a checkmate.
Yeah, we'll see what move that Munguntuul will come up on her position right now, while we are also trying to get the PGN fix for this. So let's take our second break, Miro.
Yeah, we take a second break in this round 7. 4 games are still in progress. All of them are very interesting. So coming back after a few moves. Stay tuned.
我的心情应该说非常的激动，但从外表看起来比较平静，但是内心里早已波涛汹涌。后来去休息室也大哭了一场，就是情绪很难用语言来形容吧，一种如释重负的感觉。
I've been thinking about it since the time I started playing chess, so it's nothing different to me. The match in itself is something that I've always wanted to be playing, and now that I got the chance, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
我记得最后一盘棋，我就是在一个少一兵的撤兵惨剧中，也是费尽千辛万苦把这盘棋和下来了。如果没有顽强的意志，我可能就没有办法能下到加赛。
The main approach is to go to every game in the right mindset. Be fully ready physically and mentally, and just go there and play good moves. And yeah, I'm going to try my best. In general, I'm very universal, and I can play all types of positions, and my calculation is usually quite precise and deep.
我的优点比起他来，可能年纪稍微长一点，经验更加丰富一点。然后在棋上面，我可能比较擅长一些子力调动的类型的局面，然后我可能技术处理上比较细腻吧。
Chess is more than just a game. It's a tool for empowerment, connection, and transformation. In 2025, FIDE is proud to launch the Year of Social Chess. We believe in the power of chess to bring about positive change, from therapy and education to rehabilitation and inclusion. Social chess is our way to build a better world. The Year of Social Chess will introduce groundbreaking initiatives across the globe. Monthly themes will address critical social challenges: chess for protection in refugee camps, chess for cognitive health among the elderly, and even chess for addiction recovery. Through this initiative, we are mobilizing communities, conducting research, and creating opportunities for all to experience the joy and impact of chess. Join us for online chess events, global conferences, and even a documentary film festival that will showcase the power of social chess. Let's make 2025 a year to remember. The Year of Social Chess is here. Let's change the world, one move at a time.
Welcome back, everyone. 4 games are still ongoing right now. Round 7 in the Women Grand Prix in Shymkent, Kazakhstan. And during the break, there are so many things getting interesting, especially in the game between Salimova versus Tan. I think we should start diving in there. Although Miro is trying to fix...
I'm trying to reconstruct Goryachkina's
Yes.
game, which has a PGN error. And in the PGN file, the position which we have in the PGN file is exactly the one we have on the board, but with the wrong side to move. So the PGN evaluation, evaluation bar says black is winning because in the actual game position it thinks black is to move and black can take the queen. However, my version is that black is indeed winning. It's a little bit tricky.
Queen, rook c8.
Knight h4, rook
Takes,
takes,
rook
rook c8, queen a4, and queen a4, rook c4. There is no move. Because if you
Okay.
take with the queen, you drop the rook. And if you take with the bishop, we already found this idea. Queen g5, hitting
Yeah.
a checkmate, and then knight f3. And knight takes rook, and black is a piece up, and the attack is still going. So I think it was a blunder by Munguntuul, this move, queen to a4.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. So that's why I'm trying to see where the queen is on the actual board in the video.
On the physical board.
On the
so
physical
if we
board,
could somehow change
Because rook
change
c8,
the angle.
yeah, the rook c8 idea is just you want
Yeah,
to
to
grab
take on
c4,
c4,
and
right.
queen a4 doesn't really help the position at all.
So queen
So-
a4. Yeah, if she really played queen a4 and Goryachkina took on c4, that means it's game over. No, probably something is wrong because I can see Goryachkina seated at the board
Yeah, but this is white's turn to move.
after rook c4.
Yeah, I mean also the clock. I think it shows that it is white to move.
Yeah, anyway, somewhat of a mystery, but if I've decoded it correctly and it's indeed queen a4, rook c4, this position on the board with white to move, white's lost.
Oh, what? I'm trying to also understand if it could be, maybe not, yeah? Yeah.
It's definitely just like a wrong side to move, but the same position. Anyway, let's look at the games which have no PGN error then.
Sure.
And you were mentioning Salimova with Tan, where something is going on as well. After queen e2, rook b6, f4 was played, and we were looking at queen takes, f5 and so on. Instead, Tan Zhongyi went king d8, which also makes a lot of sense. So now, if needed, the rook will go to e8. The king is moved from the e file, so the e pawn is not pinned. And d6, well, will be taken later, I guess. However, white still played f5. Pawn takes on f5, and then Salimova thinking she's down to 20 minutes.
Yeah, down to 20 minutes and down to almost 3 pounds.
Yeah, like if queen d6 happens and white is not taking anything in return, that probably game's over. I do not see our thinking some crazy attacks like this, but it's only one check on e7 and no follow-up.
Yep, and therefore I think she just played queen h5.
So she plays queen h5, attacks f7. Here, there is no comfortable way of defending f7, right? But you can probably just take this guy on d6 and go from there. Rook e8, rook e8, bishop g5 though. Yeah, maybe it's not that comfortable. Is there any other move after queen h5? Ideally, of course, f7 is an important pawn, and we would like to keep it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think at this point, when you're sacrificing 2 pawns like that, you just want to get something back, not only about the position, but also about the material. So yeah, I think queen d6 should come handy here. I don't see another way of getting out of this.
Yeah, so takes on d6, queen f7. Oh wait, maybe I can play king c8. I don't know. I want the king on b7. On the other hand, e6 is a target. Right now, you'll play like rook e1. So I have a feeling black has to have something. But not sure how exactly to play this position.
Could it be just take d6, take f7, and then over the queen trade, queen e7?
Queen e7, yeah. I was thinking white runs away.
Okay, there's queen e8, but also there's king c7.
King c7
you want
now,
to run
yeah,
away there.
Move there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess this is like close to a winning position, but we'll still need to spend a bit more time to kind of open up some files for the rooks and yeah. I don't. Well, you know what? Like the feeling, it's not the maximum that black can have. That there should be some like really smart way of playing it even stronger, but it looks good enough to me. If you ask me, it looks good enough to me.
So she took the d6 pawn.
Yeah, queen d6 played.
And I think, judging from Salimova's time situation, she's taking f7 should be quite soon.
Yeah, so she should. Oh wait, is bishop g7 an idea? Not really. You can go to e8, yeah. So the rook is no longer getting trapped. So queen h5, queen d6. Yeah, it seems that both Goryachkina and Tan Zhongyi should win their games relatively easy.
But this is not as easy as Munguntuul's
Yes, like
game, I guess.
if this is the right position. This is the right position. Wait, now it says black to move, which is once again nonsense. Now
this is white to move.
This is white to move, and there is no move, right? King f1 theoretically. King f1, queen g2, king e2. I understand black should be winning, but at least like you're not dropping a piece immediately. But yeah, that's also a terrible position.
If we could have, g3 was played apparently because there is f takes g3.
G3. Yeah, right. You can go. You don't have to go bishop f1. Yeah, I'm silly. Yeah, you can. G3. Again, how do I do it? Rook c4. Okay. I'll do it. I'll do it this way to have an actual situation on the board. Yeah, queen g5 and g2, g3, f takes g3, and I'm guessing doesn't matter what you take with. One of the options would be to just go in with the knight, take e1, go queen c1, but also. Wait a second. Also, you can maybe just play f4, play for the checkmate.
Yeah, that requires some calculation there, yeah?
Yeah, but again, like same as in Lagno's game yesterday. Remember we were highlighting. Okay, there are some pieces which are not participating in the king defense. Yeah, like f4. How do you even? What do you even do? Like this is a threat, and also the rook is getting included, the bishop is getting included from e5.
Yeah.
Black is attacking with all the pieces.
H takes g3.
G3 played.
Yep, I think your f4 is
Yeah,
a
looks
good
like
move here.
f4 and even e3 later, and like everything falls apart.
Wow, then there you go. We have the clear view of the board.
Yeah, so Goryachkina has to move, and
Yes.
she has an option of playing f4.
Yeah, looks like we are on the right position right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's f4, there's knight f3. What about bishop e5?
Yeah, bishop e5 might work as well. Bishop e5 threatening to take on g3. Yeah, also works perhaps. It does that, say bishop e5, king f1, and we will have to sacrifice on g3, so kind of a bit more calculation. I feel like f4 is a bit more straightforward. Because a threat of takes on g3 is strong, right? And it's unclear. Okay, like say rook a8 to try to exchange.
But you can ignore it.
The rook on f8, yeah, it's like takes here, takes here, takes here, and still everything's falling apart.
Yeah, well, despite an exchange down, but black has such a dangerous attack on the king.
Right, f3, everything. Okay, if rook takes, how do we checkmate? Yeah, I think we do, right? Queen g2, here, and I thought I've seen it. Yeah, bishop h6, king d4,
Queen f2.
queen f2, and queen d2. Okay, it's maybe a bit of a clumsy way, but one gets the feeling that black is completely winning.
Yeah, so I don't think, well, the move like g3, f takes, h takes is not registered on the PGN yet. So if we want to reconstruct this game, it has to be from the video feed.
Here, 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 here.
Yeah, and still Goryachkina's turn.
Yeah, she has a very pleasant choice, and she has like 40 minutes, so there's no reason for her not to spend some time. Like super safe way, and also a huge advantage would be this, right? And just take b2, and then you take c3, and the attack still continues, but
Yeah, this is the safest way.
But yeah, like this one's safest, but also f4 probably wins in like three moves, so you need to calculate just a little bit, which she's of course capable of. Okay, let's just quickly check the other games. So Tsolakidou with Lagno simplified a lot.
The queens, yeah, have been traded.
Queen f, yeah, knight d4, knight c5, queen f5, bishop f8, queens traded, b4, knight c4, b5. I guess at some point putting the knight on c6. It's around equal according to the machine. Now black gets the square on c5 for the bishop. But this will be our longest game of the round, I have
Looks
a feeling.
like it. This or Assaubayeva's
Divya,
game.
yeah. Divya is Assaubayeva.
Ooh, f4.
Assaubayeva is getting...
No, Goryachkina just
Goryachkina
played
has
f4.
played f4. Right, Assaubayeva is getting some advantage here, according to the machine. So it sees the lot of space on the queen side. b7 is weak, the knight on e6 is somewhat out of play. And it's not impossible, like this piece is somewhat stuck here. It's not impossible that white's gonna at some point like go, I don't know, e3 or even f4 comes into consideration. Like if you can play f4 and black doesn't have e4, that's just great. Yeah, looks promising. And for Goryachkina, let me once again how do I get back to this position? Rook c7 here. I mean, to have the actual position on the board, right? Queen g5, g3, takes, and f4. Right, and Munguntuul is in a desperate situation. It's even hard to think of what move has to be played. Your feeling is like you're not in time.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, but it's very a curious situation for me. Like, how did she decide to play queen a4 in such a situation where you actually could feel that all the action is in the king side, and you have to get one of your pieces apart from the bishop or the rook to defend the king.
Yeah, so that was...
It could be just the mere blind spot, just like what happened with Elisabeth the other day. There
Rook
was a
takes
move.
e4.
Rook takes e4.
After rook takes e4, to just take g3, right?
I don't see any other move. Yeah, I think it has to be
just
done.
take g3. Recapturing g3 leads to a checkmate. I don't even know what's the plan. some f4 maybe. Maybe that's what she's hoping for.
But f4. Then
Anything you can take. You can actually take. And you'll block with the bishop. Ah, no, wait. If you take, there could be some queen e8. Let's say
Queen
exchange,
e6, yeah.
exchange here and queen e8. And maybe the queen gets to like defend the king a little bit. So maybe this is not what you want to do. After f4, rook e4. Do you want to play a slower move? Not necessarily. Wait, what happens if we give a check?
Then king g2.
Nah. I was the one claiming that f4 wins immediately. Where is the immediate win, Miro? I guess maybe king g4, queen, queen h3. Maybe it's still good enough.
Or you can throw in queen f5.
Or queen f5, yeah.
If you want to go to h3.
Attack here and go to h3, yeah.
Yeah, that looks
Rook
good.
e8, let's say, queen h3, and it's not helping. Yeah.
Takes, queen c2, there's knight f3. So you are
F3
threatening
checkmate.
so many
checkmates
checkmates
yeah,
there.
So many checkmates.
Yeah, maybe we can just sit a while on this one because it looks like everything is pretty straightforward, especially for
takes
white
and
and also
f4
for
is
black.
played. Takes and f4 is played.
Okay, queen f5. Other than rook e8, can I try to defend it by playing queen c2?
Maybe queen c2.
Just to have some peace around the king.
Yeah, or bishop f1 also.
Oh, bishop
I was
f1.
thinking, like put the bishop on f1 to defend h3, and you defend the rook this way. Could be this.
Or maybe your idea of queen g4 was great if it was about bishop f1, because then g2 is
g2 and also queen f3. Yeah, depends. Yeah, so I still believe queen f5 wins, but maybe queen g4 is a tiny bit more precise because this and g2 as well. Yeah. So now if bishop e2 we go to h3, if bishop f1 we go to f3, I'm guessing.
yeah.
We can leave Goryachkina thinking here. The position is winning, but yeah, she has all the reasons to spend some time to find the most precise way. Salimova and Tan Zhongyi.
Yes, let's
check that one, because Nurgyul is down to 16 minutes. She's approaching the time trouble. Wait a second, so after queen d6, rook e1 is played, so she keeps sacrificing pawn after pawn after pawn. What's going on here? Is she's trying to say that f7 is impossible to defend? Because it's not necessarily true. Something very strange is happening.
So rook e1 is already on the board, and Tan is now thinking what to do. So what about
I don't know, I almost feel like uncomfortable being so many pawns up. I want to play rook f8, return some material, which is probably not great. Can we try to defend this one? So the rook on b6 is not doing much.
ooh, what's that? f6.
f6. Well, this is how you defend the f7 pawn. You move it to f6, right?
You keep all the pawns.
Yeah, you go f6. If queen f7, I guess you
Just
play
rook e8.
rook e8.
And there are a few ways too. I mean, I think you can also try c5.
After queen f7.
Yeah.
Like to include the b6 rook.
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. c5 is also an option.
Knight c7 is there to also attack.
Yeah, knight c7 is a clever one, because at some point I was thinking, like the white has an option of capturing on d5. Yeah, knight c7, hitting this. Yeah. Again, Very tempted to declare everything works for black, and white's position is desperate. Computer evaluation confirms on this one. -3, which is like translated from computer language. Black is 3 pawns up, which we already knew.
Oh, we got the pigeon fixed.
We got the PGN
Yeah.
fixed for Munguntuul Goryachkina.
Yes, now it is on the right turn. After F4.
Yeah, BA5, Rook A5. Great, great. We got PGN fixed, and Goryachkina is thinking after F4. The evaluation is -6.6,
Wow.
-6.8, so there is no doubt black is winning. Just has to. Once again, what was the trick here? Rook takes, queen takes. I said check on E8 and queen E2, right?
You can give in queen E6 first.
Yeah, queen E6,
See where
king
it goes.
H8, but no checks anymore.
And then queen E2.
Queen F2 is a threat, so queen E2. Still feels like it is possible that black is winning, but somehow...
No, it's queen C1 check, queen F1.
Queen C1. I was sure that you can go king G2. Yeah, queen
And then
F1,
queen E3.
and then you go queen E3.
Yes,
So it doesn't save, and then
yeah.
you go G2, and then you just go G2. You win the queen, you win the game. So then there is no reason to invent anything. Then rook F4, I guess, simply wins. Let's see how.
But this is also almost like the case when she defeated Tan Zhongyi. Yeah? She has a few winning choices, but she's not in a rush. She is very calmly thinking all the possibilities, because this is where sometimes blunders happen too. Yeah, you're so confident in saying like, oh, this anything wins.
Yeah,
and
my
then
position is winning. Anything wins.
You choose the worst possible move.
This is a
yeah.
very dangerous mindset indeed. Like when everything wins, that's
And time situation, okay, she has enough on the clock, but Munguntuul also is not in any time trouble. Let's quickly check Tsolakidou versus Lagno. I will keep an eye on this game if there's any moves coming in.
B5. Lagno is thinking after B5 was the idea to play knight C6, I'm guessing. So is there a way to kind of stop it or react to it properly? Because I'm thinking, let's say we take here, we go rook C8, and then knight C6, bishop C6. Oh wait, rook C8 was clumsy. Rook C8 blunders. No, it doesn't. I thought bishop H3, but C3 can be taken. So knight C6, bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes. Seems to be fine for black. If bishop F6, rook F6, bishop D5, well, not much, if anything, for white. Yeah, sometimes these positions are a little bit tricky for black because of
F7
pawn. Yeah, but here the rooks are fine. Bishop will be very stable on C5. Yeah, so that's not very. And yeah, I think she just took on
C3, yes. Knight C3, bishop takes C3.
Took on C3, bishop C3. Then in my line I was playing bishop to C8. It's not how to say, not mandatory. You can go knight E4 maybe. You can go bishop C5 if you want to. Okay, so this is like very tense game, but not very exciting as of now, I want to say. Like they spend a lot of time on each move. Every decision matters, of course, but it's, you know,
It's still a game. And also what is still a game is Assaubayeva versus Divya, because there's a G4 on the board right now. I'm not too sure how I feel about it.
H3, Queen c8, g4, bishop d7. I like it, and then you go f4. That's what I'm thinking. So you kind of make an argument. These guys are a little bit far off from the king side, and my pieces will kind of join fast. I don't know if it works, but let's say taking would be terrible. I'm thinking, yeah, or even take on d4, or just queen f4, knight d4. This looks terrible.
Yeah, this looks terrible.
e4. Knight d4, you would have to prove the compensation. f4, to my eyes, looks very tempting. And then if, let's say, c5 happens, black shuts down these two pieces with c5. But maybe, just maybe, I can try to do that.
Mm-hmm. And f4 is on the board right now. Yeah. Yeah, the knight a6, rook a7, they look a bit awkward there. I think Bibisara just very timely with f4, opening up the king side and exerting some attack there on the f file. Yeah, this looks pretty hard now for
very unpleasant
Divya.
position for Divya. They are roughly on the same time situation. 21 minutes for Divya, 26 for Bibisara Assaubayeva, and 20 more moves to go till the time control. So we have two games on the same move 21, but with a very, very different destiny, so to speak, because Tsolakidou is like, no, they've simplified, and like any time you can, like if you need, you can speed up, you can play 10 moves without many, say, consequences on the board. Here, every single move matters, and it has this explosive nature after f4, so like position can totally change in 5 moves. Okay, Salimova with Tan. I want to check it once again. f6, rook f2. So Salimova just sacrifices pawn after pawn after pawn and does not take anything back.
rook f2. Do you want? Okay, you might want to double up, yeah.
I guess to double, yeah.
e2.
I guess to double. Is this the moment where we go like c5? Just, you know, dc5, knight c5, and saying that we have that many pawns that king is safe in the center. Because one day we will have to defend e6, right, after rook e2. That's tricky somehow with two bishops and with the king in center. You know, even with 3 pawns, black is, I understand black should be winning, but there is no like clear-cut way. There is no move that I would say, okay, I see this, I play this because it's the strongest move. So there is still, you still have to
be
fight,
precise, yeah,
because white still has this like annoying initiative attacking e6 especially. Goryachkina decided on her move. She went queen to g4. This should be over. This should be over. Queen g4 again, a choice between this and this. g2 is also a threat.
What did we see before? After queen g4?
Queen g4, I don't even...
Was it?
I don't think we had any... Yeah, bring the queen back or something like that.
Queen c2? But queen c2... hang on. Queen c2, queen... Okay, one is queen f3 or queen h3. Maybe queen f3, yeah?
I think
also g2.
This wins, like...
But there's bishop e2?
Yeah, and queen h3. And queen h1. I guess, yeah, this looks like... Maybe not the most convincing, but it does win, right? Oh wait, queen d1, what am I saying? Well, it kind of still wins. Like this, g1, queen, and then after queen takes, we take the rook, but yeah, and it's, of course, it's a winning position.
Or queen h2, I think that's easier.
Queen h1, queen h2?
Queen h1, king f2, king h2.
Queen g1, take f4.
Or is it not?
Yeah, like maybe we are winning still. Yeah, maybe we are winning still. But I thought like you can be a piece up and keep your attack. And I thought, yeah, maybe it's enough. Right.
Still no moves yet from
Munguntuul,
Munguntuul.
no moves yet, and it's not a surprise because it's very, very hard to come up with the move. It's very, very hard to come up with the move. Divya has played c5 in reply to Assaubayeva's f4.
And rather quickly too.
Yeah. And I think she's the one low on time, right?
Well, she has 18 minutes, and Bibisara has 25 minutes.
Yeah, like we are approaching the time trouble stage in pretty much every game which is still going, but no clear time trouble in any of them, right? So here, 18 minutes for Divya, Tan Zhongyi, well, Salimova is closest to the time trouble, I guess, and Tsolakidou, Lagno, well, equal time on the clock, I guess equal position on the board as well. A6, A4, I guess AB, AB, put the bishop on C5, yeah, that's... So the only, say, problem for Lagno in this position is it's incredibly hard, almost impossible to imagine to play this one for a win with black. Right, it's so solid for white in so many ways. So if Lagno wants to complicate the position somehow, then maybe Tsolakidou will get a chance as well. Because you can always, I feel like if you want to draw, you can always do, say, this, go knight e4, go bishop c5, and we say like d5 pawn is weak, but is it really?
Yeah, but
So-
also the pawn on b5 is compensating it. Like
Yeah.
it could be a target of attack, and the square c5 is so delicious for the bishop.
The square is on c5
Yeah,
is incredible.
enough compensation for the IQP.
Yeah. So that's potentially the longest game of the round. This is getting very exciting after f4 and c5. I was suggesting this exchange sacrifice. I'm not actually not sure if it's such a great idea, but the feeling is white has to do something on the king side before black remaneuvers his pieces, like the knight from a6, the rook from a7, which are stuck on the other side of the board.
So what do you suggest white
I was
do
thinking,
here?
like, you know, without too much calculation, just to go here and say, maybe even like play rook f1. So not checkmating, but just like bringing more and more pieces there. There is no f5 because
Queen g5.
check, yeah.
Oh, she just did something, and it is e4.
E4. Ah, she's a King's Indian player after all. E4. So now, if black takes, you open this diagonal, and potentially it is a very, very strong bishop on b2, right? If you don't take, then maybe white's gonna go f5 and
G5
play it in
and
a
so on,
very
yeah?
like King's Indian style. Computer though doesn't like it and says black is slightly better. I don't know with what move.
Interesting.
E4, yeah, computer really shifted the evaluation. So it was plus for white. Now no longer likes
I
it so
think it's
much.
the en passant. Let's take a look. Opening all these central lines, and then probably takes f4 now.
Takes f4, queen f4.
Yeah, not sure what to do next, but
Still, it's very hard to kind of, manage the, coordination of these two guys. Because white pieces, the bishop is stupid for now, looking at the c5 pawn, but there is bishop b2 potential, right? This rook can go to e1, so I'm wondering if it's this, or maybe in fact it's other way around somehow. From the looks of it, this is not a big threat, right? If white just takes e5. Some move like this. But then you can take. After this bishop a4 move in yesterday's game of Elisabeth Paehtz, now I'm more aware of this, tricky moves. bishop a4, so I was thinking like if you take e5, it's just knight to d7, and then knight takes on a5, and having this nice blockade square. We'll see. No move from Munguntuul, no move from Tan Zhongyi against Salimova.
Yeah, just one more move from Kateryna after a6, a4, it's rook c7, trying to attack the bishop.
So I was looking at this, but yeah, she decided to go with that rook.
I think it's because if the bishop goes to b2, then maybe you want to take on b5 and then open up the f file so the rook can go to a2.
Can I do this?
Then everything
or it's
just
once again it's empty, right? Knight c6.
Bishop c6.
This one is absolutely like.
But that one I'll take on b5.
Of course, yeah. What I wanted to say that, of course, if I'm somehow mystically getting this position, White's very happy. That's maybe the maximum White can have. But of course, after bishop f6, a b5 happens. I guess I can do a b5, bishop b5, some bishop e5. Maybe I win the pawn back, but also e2 is hanging. No, this is not great. So after knight c6, I have to take on c6.
And take on c6.
And then, yeah, rook takes c6, rook f6. So bishop f6 now you can take with the rook. Yeah, and this is...
And then this position again.
Rook.
Just don't go...
See, you don't go here because bishop f7. Yeah.
Yes, other than that,
c8 or b8, and then you can get the b pawn all the way to b4. Yeah, and it's drawish.
Yeah, still no move from Tan. She's being really careful in this position. Also, no more move after e4 in the game between Assaubayeva and Divya. And a move queen g4 by Goryachkina is still pretty hard to respond to. So what do you think if we take our break and then we come back with more actions? Because I guess in the
that's maybe the safest time, because then you can't really take a break, because any time one of the games can be over, it will be time trouble. Yeah, so just quickly 5 minutes pause, and we are coming back to cover the time trouble stage, where we will get a lot of results.
Stay tuned.
我的心情应该说非常的激动，但从外表看起来比较平静，但是内心里早已波涛汹涌。后来去休息室也大哭了一场，就是情绪很难用语言来形容吧，一种如释重负的感觉。
I've been thinking about it since the time I started playing chess, so it's nothing different to me. The match in itself is something that I've always wanted to be playing, and now that I got the chance, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
我记得最后一盘棋，我就是在一个少一兵的撤兵惨剧中，也是费尽千辛万苦把这盘棋活下来了。如果没有顽强的意志，我可能就没有办法能下到加赛。
The main approach is to go to every game in the right mindset, be fully ready physically and mentally, and just go there and play good moves. And yeah, I'm going to try my best. In general, I'm very universal, and I can play all types of positions, and my calculation is usually quite precise and deep.
我的优点比起他来，可能年纪稍微长一点，经验更加丰富一点。然后在棋上面，我可能比较擅长一些子力调动的类型的局面，然后我可能技术处理上比较细腻吧。
Chess is more than just a game. It's a tool for empowerment, connection, and transformation. In 2025, FIDE is proud to launch the Year of Social Chess. We believe in the power of chess to bring about positive change, from therapy and education to rehabilitation and inclusion. Social chess is our way to build a better world. The Year of Social Chess will introduce groundbreaking initiatives across the globe. Monthly themes will address critical social challenges: chess for protection in refugee camps, chess for cognitive health among the elderly, and even chess for addiction recovery. Through this initiative, we are mobilizing communities, conducting research, and creating opportunities for all to experience the joy and impact of chess. Join us for online chess events, global conferences, and even a documentary film festival that will showcase the power of social chess. Let's make 2025 a year to remember. The Year of Social Chess is here. Let's change the world, one move at a time.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is round 7 of FIDE Women Grand Prix in Shymkent, Kazakhstan. And one game already finished. It was between Elisabeth Paehtz versus Humpy. But the remaining of the games are still ongoing right now. And what might finish soon is the game between Munguntuul versus Goryachkina. And what just happened, Miro?
Well, surprisingly, we guessed the entire sequence of moves that was played after f4, queen g4. Goryachkina went for g2 and queen h3, and we are witnessing, I think, the end of this game, which will mean 5th consecutive win for Goryachkina. Impressive performance. g1 is not registered at the PGN right now, but is already played. It's g1 queen, queen takes g1, queen e4, black is up a piece, and the attack is ongoing. So rook takes f4 is a threat, well, anything. Queen f4, black is just completely winning.
Wow, this is a very, very amazing performance. I mean, if or when Goryachkina wins this is her 5th win in a row in this tournament. Yeah, and then it's going to be a bit harder for Tan to catch up unless Tan managed to secure a win. And there you go, there's a resignation from Munguntuul. And therefore, it is an official result right now that Goryachkina is still in the lead by, well, temporarily 2 points ahead from
so
Tan Zhongyi.
Tan Zhongyi is likely to win her game as well, but going into 2 last rounds with 1 point lead is already a huge achievement. So
And also playing with the black pieces too today. Yeah, so going very strong to the next round. She's going to take on Koneru Humpy with white pieces.
yeah, so this would be a very important game, of course, for Goryachkina.
It can be actually decided tomorrow who's going to be the winner.
Yeah, it could be. If she wins yet another one, then she would really look unstoppable. So the only 2 players that can theoretically fight with Goryachkina for the first place are Tan Zhongyi and Tsolakidou. Right. Well, Tsolakidou against Lagno, relatively calm position. I would think has to be equal, this one. While Tan Zhongyi with Salimova, computer goes like through the roof, claiming black's advantage. It's minus 3.5, a huge advantage for black, but I'm not sure again what move Tan Zhongyi has to play.
So if I want to keep all my pawns, yeah, after the current position, can I play rook e7 here? Oh, but you have a check. Okay, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, like queen g8 check.
If king c7 and rook takes e6, maybe, yeah?
Yeah, in this case you can take on e6. And this is perhaps something that black would like to avoid. Honestly, I'm thinking, how bad is it to go e5? How bad is it to go e5?
I think any move here.
Yeah, like you open the king, I
Yes,
understand, but also like your knight's getting new squares and so on. By the way, rook e7 was played. So I'm wondering, maybe she wants to return back, kind of to repeat the position once.
Actually, Salimova was reaching out to play the queen, but I think she realized that a move like rook takes e6 is actually possible too.
Ah, yeah, after rook e7 there is rook e6, right?
I mean, it's just a possibility. Of course, it might not be a good move, but...
Oh, wait a second. But then, can I do this?
Yeah, then you have to take
Queen
with the queen.
e6 and white has to take with the queen. Queen takes, rook takes. What's the material? 2 pawns for black. 2 extra pawns, right? But still, like, still tricky. Somehow this rook on b6 is so silly. I guess you win somehow here. But I do not like rook e7 really. And we said to check, yeah. So if king c7 and rook e6, and in fact the queen is in a bit of a trouble here.
Yeah, so maybe probably she's just trying to see where the queen goes and then put the rook e8 again. But if you take on h7, it means that you're no longer you're no longer attacking e6. So, oh, there's also queen takes e8.
There
yeah.
is queen e8, yeah, I'm thinking, but
Then
maybe
rook
it's
takes,
not much. You trade. Now, king can go to f7, I guess, because not so many pieces left.
Oh, but rook c6.
Rook c6.
But
rook
okay, there's rook e6
takes,
still.
Check, rook e6. Yeah, that kind of that's the illustration why you need a lot of extra pawns, right? Because we keep like giving back material and still some material up. And this would be a relatively easy win. Next move, king e7. You'll have to take. Yeah, with the pawn on c3. Black should be winning.
And
we'll see.
Salimova is down to 8 minutes right now. So she has to decide what she wants to do. All these options, they are very possible. You want to take on e6, or you want to give a check first on g8 and then still take on e6, or take on e8 too.
Yeah, I'm guessing, like from practical standpoint, you give a check, go back to f7.
Yeah.
Because your opponent is clearly kind of has a better position, so she's the one who has to.
Yeah, in this position, I was thinking, can Black just play c5, including the rook to protect e6? Oh, queen g8 is already on the board.
Queen g8 on the board. Yeah.
I don't think Tan Zhongyi will play king c7. I
Yeah,
think
c5 is pleasant. Yeah. King c7.
Yeah, because king c7, rook takes.
Oh well, wait a sec. I just realized you can play. Is it or it's a? No. I was thinking like you leave the queen on d6, and when they take, you take e1 first, and then the other one. Yeah, but the rook will be. No, that's just like queen got lost for no particular reason, right?
The bishop on h6 is really strong though. Yeah, it stops the
maybe
c2.
like take go knight e7. Oh well, actually this tactic kind of works.
Oh,
Hitting the queen.
yeah. It's interesting.
Might still be not the end of it.
Check again.
Check and bishop f1. Yeah. Black is about to promote the new queen, but also white finally gets to attack the king.
It's very complicated.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I'm afraid like at some point white, let's say if takes b6, maybe white runs out of gas, and the c pawn will decide the game nonetheless. But at least it doesn't look like, you know, the smooth way of I just won your pawns, I've defended, and I won. So there is a little bit of craziness in this position still. Okay, queen g8, and we are waiting for Tan to make a move. She's actually also not very comfortable on the clock. It's 20 minutes left. So there is still some risk of getting into a time trouble. A bit of a development in the game between Bibisara Assaubayeva and Divya Deshmukh, because queen c7 was played, f e5, queen e5, and queen f4, to my surprise. So white kind of.
I would naturally keep the queen on the board.
Yeah, the feeling is like you are the one who has some attacking prospects.
So instead of queen f4, I would play a move like queen f2, and then bring the bishop back from a3 to c1.
This was the idea, to go bishop c1, bishop f4 maybe, right?
Yeah, queen f4. Maybe it is giving white some advantage in the endgame still if the queens are traded, because the c5 pawn is kind of weak.
Yeah, I think if we trade the queens, then black
Rook
has some
c8
difficulties defending the. Yeah, debating if it's c8 or e5. Because if you go to c8, then among other things, white can go e5, and you'll have to drop the knight to e8. So it's like really looks passive, right? Bishop d5.
Yeah.
Bishop e6, and say take on e6, go.
Rook f1.
Rook f1, then it's probably winning for white, yeah, because knight c7, c5 simply
Or
falls.
you can take on d4.
Or you can take on d4 immediately without rook f1. Yeah,
but there's g5 that you have to take care of.
That's a beautiful trick. You
But
can
okay,
take on
you
d4,
can play knight b5, g5, knight b5.
g5, knight to b5, yeah. Or maybe, again, like this works, but it feels accidental, and the other move is just like
Yeah, that's
so clean. You know, you bring the last piece into a game, and opponent's position kind of falls apart. Bishop c6 was played, and computer does not like it. I guess it has to do with the c5 pawn, or kind of black's inability to defend it.
Oh, you can play g5 first, because
can you play g5
yeah, you're forcing
here?
queen trades.
Knight can't move, so black has to take. Rook takes.
Knight d7.
Knight d7. Okay, you could go knight h5 as well.
But then nothing can defend c5, yeah?
And you just drop the rook
You just
back.
drop the rook back.
Rook e5.
Okay, but the knight is a bit out offside there.
So if knight d7...
Double up the rook, maybe?
Yeah, you can again double the rook.
And this is the fun part, yeah? If you play rook f8 or something like that, maybe we can think about knight takes d4, maybe.
Yeah. No, here we are almost for sure doing it, right? Takes here. However, knight takes. I didn't realize there is like knight takes and some knight g6. Might be winning still, but you know, one has to prove something. Okay, let's look for a clearer solution maybe. So queen f4, bishop c6. Why don't we just take? Go rook f5 maybe. So if rook takes, let's be simple, let's just take like that. And this one should fall, I'm guessing. And finally, in this position, we threaten rook e7 and rook e8, and after king f8, this is our favorite trick to take d4. Again, I'm not sure how accurate this line is, but in so many lines it works for white, so I believe it just kind of has to work in general. Has to work for white.
Let's quickly check Tsolakidou versus Lagno, because
some simplification is there.
Simplification, yeah, and then this is the opposite colored bishop.
That's the one, like pretty much the position we were getting in some lines, right? So AB, AB, Lagno captured on c6, bishop f6, rook f6, and rook takes d5, played by Tsolakidou.
Yeah, this is looking like it's gonna be kind of like ending soon. Although you never know. Okay, bishop has a good outpost on c5, and in order to attack, let's say, you also have to put the bishop on d5.
Yeah, like
but then the
white's
second rank
scheme is something like that, right? Get the bishop on d5, rook on the 7th, and maybe, hopefully, attack f7.
But you cannot do it immediately now because of the discovery rook takes c5. So you have to move. You have to move your rook first, but it feels like having the rook on a8, it's a pretty good thing. So maybe rook c8. I mean, at some point, I think you still have to prepare for this idea to go to the second rank.
Yeah, maybe. Well, one of the ways of, let's say, just making a draw would be this, I'm guessing, and then you go bishop c5, rook e7.
Yeah.
And just cover the 7th rank. If one pair of rooks is traded, I don't think something... Well, but interesting how we agree completely that it's only white who is trying. It's a surprise, right? I mean, if you think of it, black technically
has a
passed pawn, but yeah, kind of with experience, you know, with opposite colored bishops, this pawn is not going anywhere, right? It can get to b4, white puts the bishop on b3. And
Miro, please quickly jump to Salimova.
Wow, so some checks.
Yeah, wow, look at that. The queen is on a7, king c8.
How did it get to a7? So rook e8, look, queen check. Wait, check king c7 and Salimova didn't take...
On e6, yeah.
Why don't we probably don't see
yeah.
something with this rook e6 thing. Maybe this knight e7 line that I was showing. Yes,
maybe.
Rook e6, rook e6, rook e6. Seems like the queen is trapped, but maybe knight e7. So Salimova instead goes queen a8, and then e5 is played, check, and king c8. Still not comfortable. Black is winning, but somehow this queen got to a7, you know. now what would be pretty much the end of the game if you let black play e4. They shut down the rook, shut down the bishop. ED4 is, by the way, another option.
Queen a8 again, check. And
Queen
Salimova
A8
is
check.
under 5 minutes right now.
Queen
So
a8 check. This is where I wanted to say. This is where we go queen b8. Maybe we go knight b8. Not sure.
I'm trying to find a way to trap the queen. It looks like the queen doesn't have so many moves, but it's very hard as well. How to trap it even, yeah?
Knight b8, maybe.
Knight b8, queen takes a5.
Still rook a6. No? Up.
But there's
This is not a great move. Queen takes a5, rook a6. What am I blundering? And I assume, okay, like I'm not trapping the queen, but queen c5, it's almost like to trap the queen. It just takes, and should be no problem because now the pawns are solid, right? So just like go knight d7 maybe. So that's one way of going about this position. Because queen b8, queen f8, this is where it almost feels like it's gonna be trapped, but I don't see how. And also bishop takes d5 is an idea. If e4, in this case there is this stupid bishop h3 move.
yeah, but then you use this time to prepare for like rook a6 move maybe?
King b7.
One of them, yes.
King b7 and rook a6. And we finally captured the queen.
Yeah, this could be the solution.
Right, and actually judging by computer evaluation, which is minus by 5.7, that probably means that somewhere this queen is getting trapped. That probably means that somewhere this queen is getting trapped.
Yeah, so we potentially have, okay, we already have one decisive game result. This one, it should be a decisive game.
It should be, and moreover, it should be done before the time, before move 40, it feels like.
And the game Bibisara Divya, it looks like Bibisara is pressing. Okay, let's stick to this one first. Knight b8 was on the board.
Yep, knight b8 is played. Threatening rook a6.
So I think you have to take a5 now. Yeah, it's almost looking like it's forced.
Take a5, yeah. Wait a second, is this a win? Rook b5, and doesn't matter if it's a4 or a8.
Knight b6.
Knight b6, yeah. Knight b6
Wow.
traps the queen, actually.
Wow, okay. You found it, Miro.
Yeah, knight b8.
Wow.
So, wait a second, maybe this is my last chance to take on d5.
But
There is
there's
still
rook
rook
a6,
a6.
yeah.
You don't. Well, you probably win like this as well, but yeah, there is rook a6. So after knight b8, the queen indeed is getting trapped. As simple as that.
Okay, let me think. What if I take on e5? I just want to try how to get my queen out. Okay, check. That's interesting.
And again, yeah, check. If not bishop e3, then rook a6, right?
So bishop, if bishop e3, then you just
I guess
simply
just
take.
with
Yeah.
the knight, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, king h1, rook a6. Do I have any tricks there in the back rank? Probably not. I don't have anything yet.
Yeah, like you have to kind of
Sacrifice
give the
the
queen,
knight.
then take f6 or something, but
Yeah, I mean this is
it's
losing.
Not
It's losing.
not for real. Yeah, Tan is winning as well.
Wow. Okay, so 3 minutes left for Salimova, and still 9 more moves to go. And then you predict that this game will end even before the time
I
control.
think it's before the time control. Well, the longest, and I will not be surprised if
Assaubayeva.
not
this
really.
one?
I'm thinking this one. If let's say it's either they find like very fast, like exchange all the rooks, agree a draw. If white gets something, you can play it for ages. Because Assaubayeva, I think she simply like wins here. No?
Yeah, I think she's winning. She's
She
winning.
traded on e5, went rook f5, and now it's move 26. They're both below 10 minutes, and the action kind of commences. You have to trade, the c5 falls, and so on and so on. So maybe black somehow finds a way not to fall apart, and then it can last longer. But as of as of now, I don't see how to keep it.
What about knight d7?
Knight d7, yeah, maybe. Because I thought we are winning a pawn.
Oh, but it comes with an attack on a7, yeah?
Yeah. I think we are winning a pawn like this with white, but maybe say you go rook a8 and somehow hope to get to d3. Yeah, this is maybe this is how you not fall apart completely with black, right? It's probably still white is better. Just go bishop f1, defend this one, and it's a pawn, but then it can mean a long game. Like, okay, you're a pawn up, but you still have to convert. This one.
Bishop d5 is coming.
Yeah, rook a5. Okay. Yeah, exactly. It's bishop d5 and then free the rook. Alternatively, you can... no, rook c1, there will be bishop c5, yes. So black, I think, goes g6. It goes g6, you go here, bishop
And now
c5,
bishop, yeah. Rook a2.
Rook a2 from Lagno. Hitting the e2 pawn.
Okay, e3 maybe now? And white still has this idea with bishop d5?
Which is a tempo, yeah. G6, bishop d5, rook.
Maybe,
somewhere.
you have to, rook b2, bishop c5 is coming.
But then f2 is hanging all the time. Rook from f6 defend. Yeah, maybe this is just a standoff. You can't really do much. Because this rook is impossible to activate, f2 will always be hanging. Anyway, this game's not the most exciting. Let's switch again to Salimova with Tan Zhongyi.
Who is now under a minute, actually.
Knight b8, bishop f8 was played by
and rook a6.
Salimova. Rook a6.
And queen takes a6, knight takes a6.
Queen a6, knight a6. The rook is pinned. But yeah, it's a position down the queen. It's what? Queen for the rook. If you take e7, it's queen and knight and some pawns for two rooks. Nah, this is impossible. This is impossible to save. And Salimova, I guess she would resign if not for the time trouble. Sometimes, like in a time trouble, you just keep making moves.
Okay, but she has 20 seconds left, and then
took
she
on e5. Yeah.
took on e5. I think. Okay, queen c5 is there. What else is there? Queen c5 with the idea of c2. Even simply taking on e5, I think it should be fine.
Just like you take back on
yes,
e5.
fe is already on the board.
So now you'll have to take e7. This is where black takes on e7, right? Go here, queen c5,
and then
just
push to
anything.
c2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go knight c7, king b7, push c2.
Yeah. Bishop takes d5 is on the board.
Bishop takes d5.
d5.
Ah, so she decided to take this guy.
cd.
And bishop e7 and rook e5 kind of thing.
Takes on e7. But I have a feeling that after queen c5,
c5.
it's
nothing to talk about. Queen c5 and knight c7,
yeah.
and just the king is safe.
Yeah. And queen c5 is now on the board. And after king g2 maybe. King g2, then c2. And only move is, I think you have to play rook c1, yeah? But
so
okay, gotta be careful still. Although after c2, rook c1, rook e2 is coming. But I mean,
maybe you don't play c2
No,
at
it's
all.
okay,
Just
it's okay.
consolidate.
c2, rook c1,
But
queen
why?
c6.
Why do you need to calculate anything? Like, you're a bajillion pieces up. Just like play a couple of consolidating moves. Like maybe move the queen, go knight c5,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I agree. c2 should win. Then
Queen
how
c6.
queen c6. Ah, so you want to go d4,
D4,
and
D3.
d3. Yeah. Maybe again, maybe that's the fastest way to win. I don't argue. Just that I'm so tempted in positions like this to just switch off the brain and not calculate anything.
Yeah,
just
knight
make
c7,
solid
yeah.
moves, you know. Because I know I'm winning, right? It's just like not to blunder anything silly. But yes, you're right. In fact, like c2, rook c1, queen c6 is a forced win.
And
because
just
then-
being principled, just play knight c7. It is on the board, and
she played
I don't
this.
see any way on how to defend this at all, yeah?
Maybe knight c7 is the fastest way because no,
Rook
it
takes
didn't
f5.
work. I thought after knight c7 maybe your opponent resigns and then it becomes the fastest way.
And now maybe it's time to push the pawn. Or queen d4, centralizing the queen. Which one would you pick?
Wait, now you can do, you just win by force, right? You can go c2, this, and like queen e3 or something because too many things, yeah, too many double attacks.
Yes. Queen c6. So she's not in a hurry. Queen c6 already played. d4 is coming with a check. c2 is also the idea.
Yeah, so she's unpinning the d pawn, and we'll move. Yeah, we'll move it forward as well. Now this is done. This is done deal.
One more move to make the time control.
Asaubayeva still.
Yeah. Now on her move 40.
She's on her move 40,
And there is a resignation. You are right.
he did not reach move 40, right? She
One
was
more
close.
move to the time control, though, and then you
She
will lose
was
your bet.
close. Yeah, she was close. But yeah, but
So-
to be fair, this game was decided much earlier. It was a very unbalanced game, and it has to be said, like knight d6 was a very brave, somewhat speculative, but very brave attempt. And at some point, if I'm not mistaken, there was a resource for white. That just Salimova didn't find it, but there was a resource for white to almost keep the balance. And then later on, yeah, Tan just defended everything. So yet another win with black.
Another win with black.
A lot of wins for black. Yeah,
And Tan
this
is
tournament.
still 1 point away from Goryachkina, the leader. So still not over yet for Goryachkina.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If the remaining 2 rounds Tan can win, it would be depending on Goryachkina's result as well. Okay, let's move to Assaubayeva's game.
Yeah, because Tsolakidou Lagno, despite that it's like move 30, some say time trouble you can call it, but nothing happens really. Assaubayeva with Divya.
So-
We've reached, like, yeah, it actually went
After queen
through,
f4, let's
through
see.
my line, yeah. So bishop g2, king g2, knight here,
Rook e1. Yeah.
d1, rook a8, rook e7, rook d8. Aha, so we are not winning the material immediately. How come? And what's
So-
interesting, the evaluation is +2, and now I don't understand why.
G5. I think this is the right move because
G5.
yeah, you're anticipating king f8
King
with
f8,
f6.
and you
yes.
just defend with f6, and it's like total paralysis, right? And
Yeah.
nothing moves.
Knight
And
takes
she
and
did
rook
play
b7.
g5. Wow, brilliant.
Yeah, she did.
Brilliant.
I think it's all in one calculation. Yeah,
That's the
She-
part of the
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
I get
She
there.
wouldn't get this otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah, she wouldn't get this variation if she didn't see g5 on the board.
Yeah, and that's a well played, yeah, because knight f6, now b7 falls, and also c5 will fall, and yeah.
And Divya is in time trouble right now because she has 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock.
And still like 10 more moves to reach time.
10 more moves for Divya, 9 more moves for Bibisara. And g5, can we put it on the board, please?
Yeah, so now depending on Tsolakidou and Lagno, we might actually get a relatively fast round, I imagine, because this also looks like it can pass the time control, and it can be prolonged, but it seems like it will be decided in the time control, in this forthcoming
Yeah.
time trouble.
Looks like it. Let me think what's after g5. Is there any other move after G5 apart from King F8? Because King F8, we know F6 is there. It's a very direct approach. And
Playing
if
F6
itself,
yourself, then we take, and if pawn takes, you
cannot
can't
play King F8. Yeah,
yeah.
H7 is always
So
loose.
it's a brilliant.
So she played H6.
She played H6,
which I think H4 comes automatic here.
you can take as well.
I can take, yeah. And King F8.
This is what I was waiting for. Rook D7 and H7.
Oh, what a tactic there!
A little bit of naughtiness. Yeah. So I think conceptually yes. H4 is the best.
But if there's a
also
tactic on
this
the
one
board,
also works because after this capture, it's the same situation. King F8, you can answer with F6. Or maybe you just play F6 and So it's a pleasant choice. Wait, can you go G6 as well?
I was trying to invent something like that. Okay, let's.
Because G6 is also very pleasant.
And whenever
right?
there's King F8, Rook F7 is the
Rook
answer.
F7 check. Yeah.
Right. So okay. So it means White has so many good moves at hands then.
Yeah. After H6, it's you have a choice. Yeah, you have
Many
a choice.
choices, many good choices. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Divya is exactly on the dot. 1 minute left for her, and 9 more moves to
in
make.
a desperate situation, really. So if Assaubayeva wins, what does it mean? She'd be back to +2.
She'll be, I think, on the clear third. I mean,
depends on
not clear
Tsolakidou.
third.
No,
Maybe sharing the third place with Tsolakidou, because Tan Zhongyi will be on the clear second.
Yeah, so it will be Goryachkina in the stratosphere somewhere. I lost count how many points she has. After 7 rounds, it must be 6.
6, yeah, with
2
2 draws.
2 draws, and all other are the wins.
And Tan Zhongyi on 5.
Tan Zhongyi will be on 5, and then Assaubayeva on 4.5 if she wins, and Tsolakidou 4.5 if she draws.
Yeah. And H4.
H4 played. H takes.
Yeah, it doesn't really change the situation for Black here. F6 or G6, as you mentioned, they are both possible. I mean, for Bibisara's next move.
Yeah.
King F8. So F6 is now coming in. For sure. I don't see any other move. Is there any?
You can drop back to like E4 because there is knight D4 threat.
But this might be the time for Rook E8, yeah? Or it doesn't change. Knight takes D4. Knight takes D4.
Rook takes D4. Yeah, but I like F6 much more. I like F6 much more, seriously. Like, why would you move the rook from the 7th rank, right? Like, just go F6.
Yeah, and
Like,
Black is
rounds out of
paralyzed.
moves.
And while Black is being paralyzed, you can use the momentum to bring the king in, yeah? Yeah, F6 obviously is the nice move there.
Yeah, feels like a right move to play. Yeah, maybe King F8, King G8 with the idea to go King H7 with the idea to go King G6. This could be a try to survive.
Bibisara still has enough time on the clock. She's thinking right now. Maybe also there's a feeling when you're playing F6, concretely it's good, but also like principally you're letting the F6 pawn kind of weak, and then you have to keep calculating it in every move whether it is being captured or not. So maybe your move like Rook E4 here is more principled. It keeps the tension, it keeps the initiatives and advantage for White without being
I'm trying to understand like what's the plan? What's the plan if they go King G8 back?
Probably bring the king.
King F3,
Yes.
King F4. Yeah, Black's problem is like it's impossible to activate stuff.
Yeah,
like
you're
everything
right.
is so passive. We'll see. We'll see. Now that I think you've convinced me that maybe we need to play like Rook E4 or something, not F6, but F6 also looked great.
We might be seeing the end of the other game. Can we quickly switch?
Tsolakidou with Lagno.
Tsolakidou,
Yeah,
Lagno.
they found a way to trade all the rooks. Now there is like zero doubt it'll be a draw. Again, some glitch in the PG, and I think what happened in reality was Rook takes D2, Rook takes D2, Rook D6,
And then
and a
takes
trade
everything.
on D6.
And then now bishop d5 already played, followed by king
they just
g7.
have to get to move 40, and this will be it. Yeah, so I guess we are staying with Bibisara's game.
Yes,
then.
yes, and f6. f6 is on the board. Now this is what I'm liking from this position. So gf, gf.
GF, GF, and I'm trying to make an argument for king g8 and then run to h7, g6. Let's say if white...
Ooh, but f7 is always hanging.
Yeah, but the rook f7 and king g6. That's what I thought. By the way, the evaluation did drop.
Ooh.
The evaluation did drop, so I'm guessing this is the plan.
King g8 is already on the board, by the way. Yeah, I think you're right.
King g8, let's say if I do some random nonsense, like, okay, king f3 is maybe terrible because I run into a check. Say, just pass the move. King h7, check, king g6, win this. And also, like, you know, all the pawns disappeared. So sometimes, let's say, somewhere here or here, the fact that black pieces are stuck in this side sometimes would allow me to win something on the king side. Now, if, let's say, if these last two pawns getting exchanged, there is no king side. And maybe like the whole sequence of moves ends up with you winning one pawn on the queen side, but there is not enough material. Sometimes even this can be the case. Yeah, king g8, nice solution.
Yeah, what to do after this then?
Well, maybe
Because-
maybe the advantage is gone. I don't know.
Because once the pawns on f file, it's they're being traded, and then the king is active, then black is no longer being paralyzed here.
Yeah, okay, one guess that I had is like, it probably doesn't work, but just to check, like if I try to do something like this, how real my chances of winning this are. Take here, king f6 and king e4, probably not very real.
No, I
That's
don't
like,
think so.
okay, two connected passed pawns,
Yeah,
maybe
but
I'll...
the b7 pawn stops one of them, yeah?
Yeah, and also let's not forget you run here,
Yes.
and bishop and the pawn do not win. So it's like an extra layer of
Bibisara
protection.
played king f1.
King f1. King f1
King h7 is on the board.
confusing.
Yeah, king h7 is such a nice counter ideas there.
Yeah, that's a nice resource.
And I don't think you can allow king g6 without anything.
Yeah, because you'll drop the pawn.
Yep. So you have to take f7
You're
now.
forced to. Yeah, you're forced to take king to g6, and okay, you move somewhere maybe not even so important where you go because king g6.
h7.
If you try to remain on the 7th rank, I'll just chase this rook with
Yes.
the king all the time. Yeah. If the rook leaves, then all of a sudden black can go like rook f8 check, rook f5, whatever. Yeah, black is getting very active. So Bibisara played a fantastic game, and then when it was that close, I guess this f6 wasn't the greatest. Yeah, nice defense by Divya. King to h7. The other game, Tsolakidou with Lagno, they're slowly reaching move 40. So I guess when we see move 40, we probably can, you know, switch to this game just to witness the handshake. It's a draw. I don't think. Wait a second. Nah.
She must be thinking about e5 now. Could it be?
Yeah, like e5 takes here.
Takes g5.
I mean, you can take e5.
Yeah. But you would like to keep, you know, having the
material
same material.
balance. Yeah.
King f3 takes on f4. It is already on the board. And maybe later put the pawn on h3 and...
No, I know what to do. We go e5. Okay, like I don't know what black is doing. Like we go e5. And we go here. And this is where black understands that there is no chance of winning this one. I go to h1 and this bishop will be traded for the b pawn. So this is like really impossible to lose.
And there is a draw offer after the move b4 by Kateryna Lagno, and therefore which was accepted by Tsolakidou, and therefore this is our
Fourth
game.
result, yeah, fourth out of
that's ended
5.
today.
So we have 2 draws and 2
decisive
wins
results.
for black.
Yes, and
Goryachkina.
potentially the other one, we still don't know what's going to happen here because, okay, Rook F7 is already played, by the way.
Yeah.
And
Okay, we're
then-
waiting for this one.
Yeah, Rook F7, King G6.
Rook takes F7, King to G6,
And Rook
back
E7.
to E7.
Yes, and King takes F6. There might be, you mentioned about this repetition, Rook H7, King G6, Rook E7. It could happen, you know. And they're on their move 38 right now. So
She will definitely repeat it couple
Yes.
or maybe once to get closer to the time control, and then of course, well, Bibisara will have to reflect and kind of reevaluate her chances. Like, is there a way Black plays for the win, or maybe the whole advantage is gone?
I think they will
Yep,
repeat
King
for
G6,
sure. King G6.
not much of a hesitation from Divya.
Rook E7
Rook
is
to E7.
already on the board, and King F6 should come automatic as well. Because yeah, for both sides, it's very hard to play for if you refuse to draw. It's very hard to play for a win. Like, there's no easy way to do it, and whoever tried to force the situation, she might get punished. Yeah.
So what is the move numbers? It's King G6.
They already
here,
entered the move 40.
Here, and this is move 40.
Yes, they already, and that's why Divya just got up, and Rook H7 is on the board.
Rook H7. So Bibisara.
And Bibisara, from the video I saw, she over the draw, which was
they
accepted.
just agreed the draw.
Yeah.
Well, what an unexpected conclusion to this 7th round. I was ready to stay on and on and on, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think, quite a good save by Divya, yeah, because the whole time, I think Bibisara was the one with all the initiatives, and yeah, they're analyzing the game right now, which might be, you know, I mean, no other games currently going on, so you can actually talk
Yeah,
in
well,
the
it's a
in the
rare
venue.
case where you aren't allowed to analyze your game in the playing hall.
But since all the games already finished, then you can actually shout.
Have this feeling it's a bit of a miss for Bibisara.
It is. It was a miss, and totally. I mean, usually in such a position like that, I was very confident that Bibisara would be able to find all the winning sequences. But probably at some point with all these pawn moves, she was a bit too fast. Even though she had quite some time on the clock before move 40. I think 8 minutes left on the clock, but I think her decision was a bit too fast. But anyway, Miro, what a day we have today for round 7. Let's remind ourselves on the result of today's games. Yep, and on the top
Goryachkina
board
wins, and so does Tan Zhongyi. So we have 2 kind of people running away.
Yes,
yeah?
and then the 3 draws, Bibisara versus Divya, we just saw. Stavroula Kateryna Lagno is also quite a level game, and Elisabeth Paehtz Koneru, I think the game didn't even start.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah,
did, but they relatively quickly found the way to, or rather, Elisabeth found a way to offer the repetition,
Yes,
and Koneru
and was accepted by
had
Koneru too.
no intention, and I think objectively no reason not to accept the repetition.
Yes,
yeah.
and let's update ourselves on the standings after round 7. On the top, we still have Goryachkina Aleksandra leading alone with 6 points out of 7.
6 for Goryachkina, 5 for Tan Zhongyi, and
Yes.
4.5 clear third is Stavroula Tsolakidou. These are the players who are fighting for first, even mathematically, right?
Yes.
Because, well, those on 4 points, well, theoretically you could say Goryachkina loses 2, and what's funny, I said those on 4 points. I just realized that it's Bibisara alone.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Bibisara alone on 4 points.
Okay, so the day has come to the end. It's quite short, but let's talk about game by game, what happened on
Again,
the first game.
Chronologically,
Yes.
right? So first was a very quick draw by Elisabeth Paehtz and Humpy Koneru.
In a Jacobiano. Yeah.
There was a Jacobiano. Well, move repetition was offered and accepted, so 14 moves only.
And the second game to finish was the game between Munguntuul versus Goryachkina, which was won by Goryachkina in a very nice tactical blow in the end, but I think it's also thanks to the blunder that Munguntuul did in the middle of the game. And the third one...
Yeah, it was Tan Zhongyi's win against Salimova in a very sharp, very complex game. Well, third analysis is needed to tell what was going on the board, but at the end she was very precise converting her advantage.
And the game between Stavroula Tsolakidou versus Kateryna Lagno, it was a very level game from start to finish. There was some ideas for both sides to try to play for a win, but I think it was quite a fair result that was ending with a draw.
Yeah. Bibisara Assaubayeva, after an original opening, got some advantage against Divya Deshmukh, and at some point we thought that she will succeed in winning. However, in the pretty much winning position, close to time trouble, a couple of mistakes, and the advantage was gone. So good defense by Divya in this game finishes in a draw. Well, with 2 rounds to go,
Yes.
still, very, very interesting tournament situation, but the clear favorite, Goryachkina, of course, with 2 rounds to go with 1 full point.
Tomorrow we'll be coming back for round 8, so stay tuned because the battles will still continue. 2 games left, anything can still happen. Who is going to be the winner might be decided tomorrow, so don't go anywhere. Tomorrow we'll be coming back on the same time, same place. I'm Irene and Miro with me.
Yeah.
Thanks for
See you
watching.
guys.
See you tomorrow.
Please join us tomorrow.